Hi, everyone, and welcome to Video Game Book Club, the show where we pick, we play, and we discuss a video game each and every month. I'm your host, Juan Pablo Gomez, and your co-host is always Benjamin Tizzle Toops. That is his government name. You can look him up. Tizzle, middle name, okay?
And the last four numbers of my social security number are just kidding.
Okay, he didn't want to say it, but today we're gonna talk about our May game of the month, which was Esoteric Ebb. But before we get started, Ben, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm hot. I was just saying I'm hot. It is early summer. Can we say that? Are the season truthers gonna yell at me for saying it's summer right now?
Yeah, isn't like groundhogs when the groundhogs come out is summer now?
I don't know. I don't even know, to be honest, but it's hot. It's hot. Where I'm at, it's hot. So I'm trying to stay cool. I'm staying indoors, and that means playing lots of video games. And of course, in the month of May, that was Esoteric Ebb. How are you, JP?
Dude, I am also hot. It's hot everywhere. I don't know. Wherever you are, it's probably hot. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere, I guess. But dude, I was cleaning out my office today. There's nothing around me except boxes. And I found a bag, two bags actually, of each of about 300 plus cards. Oh. One for Yu-Gi-Oh! And one for Pokemon. Wow. And bruh, I had like 17 ponitas. Like, I don't know what the hell. I had like 5 Charmanders. I have 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon holographics. I have so much crap from when I was a kid. And you know how long those cards have been in those bags? Probably 20 years.
You gotta get those bad boys appraised. We gotta.
I don't care, dude. I was gonna ask you, like, what should I do with them? Because honestly, I kind of just want to toss them. Like, I don't like they're. Is that sacrilegious? I mean, that's sacrilegious.
Yeah. I don't know. Honestly, there's probably a couple like semi-valuable cards in there. If I had to guess, like
I just don't want to.
Just the way, if we're looking at like the law of large numbers, there's got to be something in there.
Something. The thing is, we're leaving in 3 days, so it's like I don't have time to go and like get these bad boys appraised. Right. I have the question is, keep them or toss them.
You're asking me.
I don't know. Just, you know what? I'm just throwing the question.
Let us know in the comments.
Let
us know in the comments what JP should do with these.
They're currently in a garbage bag right now. It has not been tossed. It's in a garbage bag sitting in my office next to me. Both of them still in their Ziploc bags. Don't worry, they're still preserved. But let me know.
If you would like JP's garbage bag of trading cards, leave a comment with your name, your address, and your phone number.
And again, your social security number.
Yes.
And your credit card information, mom's maiden name, first pet, and your first teacher's last name.
Right.
Or, whatever you called that teacher.
Yes.
Who was your first teacher, Benny?
We're getting off track. We gotta talk about the game.
All right. Let's get started. Okay, so Ben, we played Esoteric Ebb, and you picked Esoteric Ebb actually for Video Game Book Club. So why don't you tell us about why you picked it and what the game is?
I did pick Esoteric Ebb. So first of all, if we obviously we've been playing Esoteric Ebb as the May game of the month. If you want to play the game of the month alongside us, join the Discord. The link is in our bio. We will be announcing the June game of the month at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. But the best way to keep in touch and to keep active with the Bonale Games community, if you enjoy the show, is to join the Discord. But when I was thinking about what we wanted to play for the May game of the month, we'd been playing a lot of kind of varied types of games recently. We played a lot of like intense games with Lies of P and Armored Core. We played Cairn, which was a little more slower, a little more like introspective in a way. And I really wanted something that was just going to give us like a unique experience. And so when I was thinking and trying to kind of look at games that came out recently, Esoteric Ebb was just one that really stood out to me because it's kind of in that disco-like genre where it's very similar. It's a CRPG. It's very similar to Disco Elysium in the way you kind of interact with the world. And of course, Disco Elysium is a classic. We have so many people in the Video Game Book Club community who absolutely go to war for Disco Elysium as their favorite game. And yeah, I think it was just, it's a Video Game Book Club classic that we both really enjoyed. Esoteric Ebb, I'd been seeing a lot about it, and it looked really interesting, really funny, and really engaging. So I thought it would be a great pick for the game of the month.
I agree. I think the humorous part of Esoteric Ebb is so good. It has so much charm because of it. And it's not just that. Visually, it is so appealing. Very in contrast with all the other games that we played, which are a lot more intense, like you said, a lot more dark in nature, like Eliza P, Control, and Armored Core 6. In this case, and even with Disco Elysium, and again, I have to apologize. We're going to bring up Disco Elysium probably a dozen more times
for sure,
when we talk about this game, because it's really difficult to talk about Esoteric Ebb without bringing up Disco Elysium, because this is really, in my mind, I mean, I'm sure there's other games, but in my mind, these are like the only two games that are this in this way, Disco Elysium is
technically
like the
three.
Papa.
Now with the
that game that just came out.
Spies or whatever it's called, the spiritual successor, but we don't acknowledge that. Okay,
don't
in the
acknowledge
Video Game
that
Book Club
game.
community,
Don't
we don't
acknowledge
that game.
But
right.
It's Disco Elysium is the papa of this type of games, and Esoteric Ebb came in and was like, hey, I can do what Disco Elysium is doing, but in a different sense. It's not going to be a protagonist that is, all drugged up and is an amnesiac and is kind of like a degenerate a little bit. This is, at least that's how I played it. This instead is like a colorful, playful, and honestly really thoughtful game that was created, and that presents itself as just that. Like, you are a cleric. We're going to talk about it more a little bit later, but you are this guy who's just like going through life. Like, you have a job, and he's like, hey, the job is you have to solve this murder or this crime scene, sorry. Kind of like Disco Elysium. And then you go around and you just talk to people like, oh my God, hey, you know about the murder that happened? And they're like, yeah. And then like, what do you know? It's like, I don't know nothing. I'm like, come on, something, and then it goes into that style. Whereas in Disco Elysium, every conversation felt like it was going to have some sort of tension. And the tension sometimes was really difficult to get through. Like, I was like, I don't really want to go talk to that person because I don't know if I can actually pass their checks. Whereas here, I never worried. I was like, if I don't pass their checks, I don't really care. Like, every character in Esoteric Ebb was, obviously there's some moments where, there is tension, of course, and you can piss people off, and I pissed a lot of people off. But in general, it doesn't matter if you piss people off. Like, it's just for fun, And I really am happy that you picked this game because it kind of gave me that different perspective. I do want to talk about a little bit of, once we get into the early game, that it's kind of hard to get into these types of games for me. And I just wanted to bring that up at the beginning. I had the same feeling playing Esoteric Ebb as I did playing Disco Elysium, where it's just like, I don't know if it's slow, the beginning of both games, but it just feels hard for me to kind of get into the rhythm of walking around, talking to people, and building a quest path in my head. I don't know if you felt the same way.
I do. I think it's, games like this, obviously when you start a new video game of any kind, you're dropped into a world, right? With some kind of backstory, some kind of lore, some type of setup that, determines why you're doing what you're doing now. That's every game, right? But I feel like with this game, Esoteric Ebb and Disco Elysium and similar games, there's so much thought and detail put into the lore and put into the world that is really overwhelming. Like, it's not just, hey, you're this guy, you're trying to topple an empire, like, go off on your quest. Great, that's super straightforward, I get it. You start this game and the game is dropping like so much lore on you in the first 5-10 minutes, like, all of the old gods and this guy who's like kind of the god of the world, and there's these other gods, but they're dead gods, so they're not around anymore, but like maybe they are, we don't really know, we're not really sure. And you're just like, I don't know what any of these words mean. I don't know who these people are. I don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. Like, what am I supposed to do right now? And so it's just like, so that the first act of the game, the early game, like you were saying, was like the slowest part of the game for me, in my opinion, just because it's just you exploring the world, trying to make sense of it as best you can and not really having a lot of success. If you're me, I was just kind of like wandering around talking to random people, trying to put 1+1 together in my head and just like not really being successful. But yeah, you're right. It's overwhelming to get into a game like this for sure. But I think as you go and like as you get towards the mid game and the late game, it opened up a lot for me. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point that you brought up, though, because in every other game you have some sort of introduction, or there's some sort of cutscene that says, hey, this is what's happening and this is who you are. In the majority of games, I don't want to say every game, but like, 65% of them or whatever. But it is just like in Disco Elysium and Esoteric Ebb, everything starts with nothing. You just start with yourself and your own thoughts, and you just arrived where you arrive. After that, in Disco Elysium, you are an amnesiac and you have to figure everything out, and it's kind of annoying. But the cool thing about Esoteric Ebb is that the cleric is not an amnesiac. He's just a person. But the thing is, you don't know anything about him. So like you answering questions that people ask of you in a way for the player to understand who the cleric is was really interesting. And I really like that they did that. But also, like you said, it was a chore. It was like homework. It was like, do I really want to know who I am? Well, I mean, there's not a reason of why I don't know who I am. So it's kind of weird when I have, like, I'm talking about myself to other people. So, and like, they make comments about that often in the game, which is interesting. But honestly, games like this, you get out of what you put in. If you really want to dive into everything, you can. Every time someone mentions a name, like Ben is saying, like a god name or some sort of war that happened 100 years ago, there's those words will be in orange, and you can open up your journal and read what they mean. I gotta be honest. Oh my God, that was tough. Like Ben said, in the first 20 minutes, you probably got like 30 entries in the journal. Yeah. It's kind of like in Control, which we just played last month. And you just have all of this overwhelming documentation of the lore of the game. And it's just like, let me play the game, please let me play the game. I still don't even know what's going on. But that, if you get through that kind of like early stage, maybe that first couple hours, and you kind of get into the groove of like, what's actually going on? Why am I here? And what am I doing? And you start meeting characters that you like and some characters that you don't like. Then I think you actually get into a good groove and you start meshing with the game a lot. I find that these types of games, you can't play them in like 10-minute bursts. You can only play them in almost like 2-hour bursts because because there's just so much. It's like when you sit down and you watch a movie, that's kind of how it feels. Or when you sit down and like read a book and you want to read for a while, that's kind of how this game feels to me. Whereas an action game, you can pop in and pop out quick. If the story isn't making sense to you and someone's talking to you way too much, you're like, shut up, I'm gonna go fight some monsters. And you're like, okay, that's fun. You can kind of have a little bit of a break. But here it's like you don't. It's like the breaks that you have are other conversations that you need to have, other points of interest that you need to uncover, other quest paths that you're following, all in, of course, just conversation form. So it is a little bit like, Ben, time doesn't advance unless you talk to someone. You can't just walk around and let the game like run. No, you have to chat with people, pick different conversation points, and then the game will advance its time, which is really important in this case, like it was in Disco Elysium. But okay, we're getting into the weeds. Benny, why don't you tell us, how does this game start and what is our goal?
Yeah, so like you said, the game starts very similar to Disco Elysium. You wake up to this black screen. You're being asked all kinds of questions about yourself. You're not really sure what's going on. You're answering them to the best of your ability. This is kind of where you start forming what like the basis of your personality within the game will be, I'd say. And you wake up just in this morgue, basically a morgue surrounded by apples. I don't. What were you gonna say?
I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry. The game starts with building your cleric. How did you build your cleric, my man?
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, of course. So that's an interesting point. So this game, it has like a similar skill allocation as Disco Elysium, but I feel like this one is more direct in that it takes the D&D style approach of just having the 6 core abilities that you put points into, and those points like directly influence your skill modifiers and conversations and skill checks and stuff like that. Whereas in Disco Elysium, you've got all these different skills. I can't even remember.
So
I think
many.
it's like 12 or something like that.
It's
Might
like
even be more.
25 or
Yeah, it might be
20
more.
plus or something.
Yeah. So I felt like that was a little opaque in Disco Elysium, but this in Esoteric Ebb, it puts it in a very like familiar format, because if you're playing this game, you're probably familiar with D&D in some context. You probably know what a D&D stat sheet looks like, so that it immediately makes sense to you. You've got all your core abilities. You kind of know what you're getting when you put points in each one. So my ability allocations, I was going for dexterity early. I put a lot of points in dexterity and a lot of points in wisdom. I wanted to be like I don't know, like the intuitive savant cleric that had nimble little fingers and was going to pickpocket you when you're not looking. That's the image I had in mind of my playthrough. Whether or not it turned out that way, we'll have to see. But how did you build your cleric, JP?
I didn't build it like that. I was like the BFG. I was big friendly giant for those unfamiliar. I was big on the strength. I just went max strength and max
Wow.
charisma. And then I had like zero dexterity and like zero intelligence. I went semi high constitution because, if I'm going to be a BFG, I need to withstand some hits. And then I would say also kind of mid of the road wisdom as well.
Right.
Which we just made it so interesting to play in that way. It's like my strength character was always like, you need to fight this person. And the charisma is like, or we can get along, And it's just like, it was really fun to always have those two options, getting along or fighting someone.
Yeah, true, true. I will say it's funny. Like each of the core abilities, like Disco Elysium, each of your core abilities represents like a personality within you, basically. It's like
Yeah.
it's a thing that talks to you and that you talk to while you're going through conversations and exploring the world. Like, and they each kind of encapsulate a different part of your personality. So which skill you kind of lean more heavily into kind of has an impact on what your personality is going to be and like how you go
Definitely.
about approaching things. So like for
And it's
example, my the dexterity skill in the game, which was one I put a lot of points in, becomes like very tied in with one of the political factions in the game, the Free Striders, who are kind of like the libertarians you could think of in our human world. And so, I put a lot of points in that. And I also put a lot of points in wisdom. But the wisdom skill is heavily associated with the Asgilists in Esoteric Ebb. And the Asgilists are sort of like the socialist labor party, like stuff like that. So those are in like direct, contrast with one
yeah,
another,
they are.
basically. One is like, laissez faire, and the other is like, labor, union, all this kind of stuff. So the early part of the game, I was like, I didn't really know what to be picking, honestly, because they're like so directly in contrast with one another that I was like, I just want to use the skills that I put points into. Like, I want to use both of them. But if I use one or the other, I'm like basically having to make a decision about like which political affiliation I want to take like this early in the game. And that was crazy to me. It was a little overwhelming to start the game, honestly.
It was. And I mean, like, it doesn't stop there, right? Every single character, I guess, that is in your head has these affiliations. Like, strength was super nationalist. So it was like, for you do everything for your God, you do everything for your nation. You would go to the ends of the world for your nation and for your God. That's like what strength always wanted to do. If someone talks bad to you, you need to be masculine. You need to hit that man right in the face, punch him. But it's really fun when you have those kind of conversations within yourself because you have them now. I think like in Disco Elysium, I had trouble understanding Harry's like psyche because I don't know what electromagnetism is or whatever, whatever it was called in my head. Like I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. But it's a little bit easier when you're talking to someone and your strength says, oh my God, this guy fucking sucks, punch him in the face. And then your charisma is like, we probably shouldn't do that. Why don't we just like be nice, And it's just like, yeah, I can kind of see those conversations happening in my dome, Whereas, so it was really good. It was like immediately that part of the game was easy to access, but every other part of the game, which was like the lore and what's happening, was like, again, like a little bit difficult. But like Ben said, you wake up and you're surrounded by apples, and you wake up and then there's a zombie in front of you. And Ben, how did you deal with that zombie?
I tried to do so, like, when you take combat encounters in this game, you basically have like a few options, and each option depends on which ability you're going to use to go about that thing. So like, if you want to hit the zombie, that's going to be a strength check. If you want to talk the zombie down, that's going to be charisma, right? Stuff like that. So in my dex build, I was like, oh, I'm a dex boy. I'm going to try to like dodge around the zombie, and I think what ended up happening was I just like hit enough dex checks that the zombie just like tripped and fell into the apples and just stayed there. I was like, okay, job done.
I didn't want to hit the zombie. I was like, I don't know who this man is. Like, he was just working. He wasn't doing anything against you. But I convinced him to knock himself out with my charisma. So I was like, knock yourself out. And then he punched himself, and then he fell over into the apples. And then I grabbed a bunch of apples, and then I went up and I talked to Viskin. Vixen?
I think Viskin.
Viskin. Listen, this game doesn't have any voice acting, which is a big difference between the definitive edition of Disco Elysium and Esoteric Ebb. And I think it was missed. It was missed for me. I really would have loved some voice acting. I understand that it is insanely difficult because this game has millions of lines, probably not thousands, but millions of lines.
Yeah,
probably thousands, but and
somewhere between those
somewhere between. And yeah, I understand it's difficult, but for me, for like the attention span of like reading for 2 hours straight, I would have really liked them. Like Viskin, for example, I didn't really understand his vibe, because his like mysterious and sinister vibe, until a little bit later when everyone was like, bro, that guy is fucking weirdo, And I'm like, oh shit, is he actually weirdo? I didn't really know. And they're like, yeah, he's a fucking weirdo. You didn't like talk to him? Like, I guess, yeah, I'll go talk to him again. Whereas if there was like a little bit more of a voice, audio kind of point into this game, it would have helped a little bit with like these characters. There's a particular halfling that you meet later who doesn't really matter. His name is like Snare or something like that, and he's crazy, and everything that he says is like half of what he says is a curse word, which is hilarious. And he's like really smart, and he wants you to find this particular book, and so I like did all that with him and his quest line and everything. But he was so interesting. But he's a blabbermouth. He would talk, Ben, for 15 paragraphs before I was even able to say something back. And I was just like, I'm not reading that. I'm sorry, but I'm not reading that. And so I would just click. Whereas if it was like voice acted, I probably would have been able to listen to him for like, 5 minutes and chat with him. And I would have been wanting to do that. But I'm like, you're going to make him talk for 15 paragraphs? Hell no, brother. I'm not reading that thing.
I totally agree. I mean, the voice acting is definitely missed. I think, like you said, you have to acknowledge this is a solo dev game. This is one guy, Christopher Beauregard, I believe his name is. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation.
Yeah, he hates
so Christopher,
That's crazy
I apologize.
That you said that. Oh my God.
But solo dev game, years and years of effort. Like you just have to appreciate like the effort that already went into this game with all of the writing, all the artwork, and obviously the story and things like that. All of that in and of itself is like a Herculean effort for one person 100%. To put together. So I love and respect him for that. It's just like you do feel playing this game and comparing it to something like Disco Elysium, where I can hear the Disco Elysium narrator in my head right now. That's how like iconic and how much the narration sticks with you in that game. Like I can hear it right now. So it's just one of those things you feel its absence. You definitely feel its absence. And I think like reading, we're gonna reading. If you know, in the Video Game Book Club Discord, JP and I always get a lot of guff because people think we don't like reading in games, and it's not true.
We read.
But the reading, when you're reading so much on a screen, on your computer screen in particular, for so long, it kind of hurts your eyes. I don't know. Maybe we're washed. Are we washed, Onk? But it kind of hurts your eyes a little bit.
It hurts. Honestly. It hurts your eyes. Also, like the reading, like when you play this game, you look at 1/3 of your screen for 90% of the game.
Yeah, true.
Which is the bottom or like the rightmost third of the screen. That's it.
Yeah.
And then the pretty colors come back to life after you stop talking and you can walk around. But yeah, it's tiring. Like I was playing this game on the Steam Deck and I was playing, if you can't see me right now unless you're watching a video. And instead of playing like this, I was playing like this, because I only needed to see like the rightmost third of the screen. But like Ben said, it's kind of hard to say bad things about it. It's just something that I wish was there, but I completely understand.
It's just it would elevate it to like such an incredible level. Yeah,
so many more points in my head for this game if it had voice acting. But of course, it didn't, and that's okay. I still enjoyed the game a lot, and I really enjoyed having all these conversations with these characters. And it actually made me really want to focus on the conversations that I really wanted to have with the characters that I liked. And those side characters that I didn't really give a shit about, I was like, I'm not talking to you. Like, genuinely, I'm like, I could not be asked. Like, I'm not doing that. But okay, Benny, you're getting sidetracked again all the time.
Me? It's not me.
You. It's you.
No.
You talk to Viskin, and then why are we here? Why are we in Tolstad?
So we are the cleric. We are not just a cleric, mind you. We are the cleric. You are a cleric of the Earth Guard. And Earth, here it goes. I'm about to drop lore on you. Earth is a god of this world who is dead now. He was a god for a while. He was leading kind of this nation state. He did a lot of questionable stuff. There was a little bit of a goblin genocide, but kind of some questionable motives. But guess what? He's a god, and he's not just a god, he's your god. You are in the Earth Guard. You are sworn to the service of Earth. And in that role, you've been brought to this town of Tolstad to investigate a tea shop explosion. A tea shop has exploded. Why? We're trying to figure that out.
We don't know.
Seems pretty straightforward, but immediately the game, you start to talk to people, and the game starts to kind of indicate that it's not straightforward, or people start to tell you that they think it's not, because, one of the first things you do is you've been brought here by the city, right? The city has asked you to come and investigate. But one of the major factions within the city is the halfway goblin tribe. And they are a major player in the city, a big political force. And the leader of the goblin tribe, Lady Sageleaf, the dragon, kind of calls you to her office, and she says like, hey, you're going to report to me. This tea shop happened like in my district. It's my responsibility, and I need to know what's going on. And oh, by the way, I think it was political in nature. You're like, bro, the tea shop explosion was political in nature? What do you mean by that? Like, how's that possible? So, in the early parts of the game is setting up this kind of like push and pull between a lot of the different political factions, the goblins, the free striders, who are, again, the libertarians, the Asgalists, who are kind of the union people, and the nationalists, who are, the people who brought you here, basically, the Earth Guardians. And looming over all of this is Election Day. The first democratic election in the history of Tolstad is occurring in 5 days. So there's kind of an air of urgency about this whole thing. 6 days, yeah. There's kind of an air of urgency. There's a deadline. Like, you literally only have so much time to complete the events of the game. And if you fail to do it, I don't really know what happens. I did not have to experience that, thankfully. If time ran out on you, let us know what happened in the comments. But the game is just setting up all of these different factions, this kind of sources of intrigue and people within the city. Within the first, day or two of the game, you're probably investigating the tea shop itself at some point to conduct your first kind of investigation, and figure out all the clues that you can find. You're probably interacting with the people that brought you here, Lord Darrow, the coin master of
Coin
Earth.
Lord.
Coin Lord. And of course his guardian, Etir, the angel.
My queen.
Who my that is my queen, that is my goat. Nobody will say a bad word about Etir.
If you say a bad word about Etir, you will catch 4 hands.
You will get
Bennies
these hands,
and
my
eyes.
friend. But that's really the early game, I would say. It's really a lot of running around, talking to all the different involved parties, talking to all the different people, learning a lot about the lore of the game, and really just like trying to kind of find your way in this whole story.
Yeah.
Like we said, it's a lot at first, and I think the first day or two was the slowest part of the game for me, just because I was kind of so mired in like all those details and kind of lost in the minutia a bit. How did you feel about the early game?
Yeah, well, you're investigating this, and obviously when you're playing this type of game, you know that there's something grand here. Like, it's not just like the tea shop didn't explode just because it exploded, you know? And so you kind of have this like Sherlockian, I'm inventing that, like lens in you where you want to question every single character that you meet. So every single conversation that you have a little bit like, I'm sure there's more to this, you know? And I think that's why it's fun. But the layers of the lore that this game has are run so deep that that's what usually would throw me in for like a little bit of a loop,
right?
You know? But Benny and I, from this point, I mean, it's really difficult to talk about this game without spoiling. So we just wanted to like have this long conversation about kind of how we felt about the game and a lot of different things. And then we really want to go on like different moments that happened in the game and discuss how it was different between Ben and I. So one of the first questions that I have, Ben, how did you get inside the tea shop? So it's barred. There's a barrage, like a magical barrier for you to enter the tea shop.
Right. So honestly, it's surprising. I literally think you get to the door and one of your options is to just like, there's a magical barrier on the door to the tea shop. And I think what you're intended to do is go talk to Etir, the angel of the Coin Lord Darrow, and get her to drop the barrier, basically. But one of the options is just a strength check to just tear the magical barrier apart and get in. And I was not a strength character. I was like, I think my strength modifier was -1 at this point. Like, I'm not a strength boy. And I think I like nat 20'd it. Like, genuinely, I think I crit successed it. And I just tore the door down and got it.
That is so good. That's so funny. I wish I would have done that, honestly, because my character would have loved to do that. Yeah. But no, I think I wisdomed or charisma'd my way. I was just like playing dumb or something. I can't remember. I picked some options that basically led me to have this conversation with myself. Hey, I can think of 20 different passphrases that I can try to open this gate. And then my psyche was like, okay, you probably won't get it, but sure, try. And Ben, the game gave me 20 options. Oh my God.
What just happened?
The smoke detector that I put up there that I stuck with sticky tape.
Wow. If you're watching, you need to go. If you're listening to this, go look at the YouTube right now. There was just some paranormal activity that we just captured on camera.
Oh my
on
God,
JP's video.
Oh my God. I am sorry about that. Okay. I literally had 20 options that the game gave me. And I just clicked through all of them because I think the game was probably like, okay, no one's going to click through all these unless you're like really stupid. You know, you're probably just going to go, okay, I don't know, and go next. But I was like, fuck it. I'll click on through all of them. And like the 14th one was the correct passcode to get in. Wow. And then the barrage was lifted and I was able to go in and I was like, oh, sick. You know? Nice. So I just guessed my way through, which is hilarious.
That's incredible.
Of course, inside the tea shop, Benny, what do you find?
You find a lot. I mean, I I did not find, not really a spoiler because we're just spoiling everything, but one of the things you find inside the tea shop is an elf. There's an elf that's under a table that was like blown aside by whatever explosion occurred in the tea shop. This massive stone slab is covering the elf. And it's a really difficult strength check. So, I critical successed my first strength check to get the door open, but I did not pass this strength check. So that was something I actually had to come back to. And of course, the rub of the elf being there, as the game tells you, is that elves are kind of rare in this particular fantasy universe. Elves are like a little bit rare in the city of Tolstad, and there's like really only a certain number of factions or people that can kind of claim this elf, basically. So when you find that, it kind of tells you a bit about the people involved in the tea shop explosion and maybe what potentially could have happened. But that was something I didn't learn about until a couple days later. I think I had to come back with a companion, and I had my companion at that point, but I think I just failed the check. But I came back maybe with some better stats and a spell that helped me succeed the check. Did you one shot that one? Did you get the table?
Oh hell yeah! I knew about the elf, the incinerated elf, immediately as soon as I walked in. But the thing is, I think I went to a tea shop pretty quickly, so I kind of didn't really know much about elves and like why they were so like rare. And like Snell was like, holy shit, it's an elf. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, you're a goblin. So like to me, this is already like a lot. Like, I was just talking to like a freaking, I don't know, a halfling, gnomes, there's dwarves. I'm like, it's, this is nothing, but obviously in this world, it was really intense and something to talk about for sure. So my next question, Ben, is how did you handle Lady Sageleaf? Like, did you tell her everything? Did you not tell her anything?
I think I pretty much told her everything throughout the whole playthrough. So, one of the big parts about the Goblin tribe is that Lady Sageleaf, wants all these reports and wants you to report to her. And she also assigns you a babysitter, basically. And that comes in the form of Snell. So Snell is kind of your trusty companion, in the same way that Kim Katsuragi is in Disco Elysium. They play kind of a similar role. They both are a bit more stoic and a bit more like, laid back and analytical compared to however, esoteric, shall we say, the main character is going to be. So they kind of, your relationship with Snell like develops a lot through the game. And I think it's probably possible for you not to really be friendly with Snell, but I was very friendly with Snell. Of course, he's my boy. So I was like, yeah, for his sake, we're gonna shoot it straight with Lady Sageleaf. How about you?
I decided my allegiance was to Lady Sageleaf pretty immediately. But then I figured out later that I kind of didn't go through with that as much as I wanted to. So you basically, after you talk to Lady Sageleaf and you would like investigate the tea shop, you can decide whether you want to tell her all the clues that you find in the tea shop or not. Right. Doing so opens two options. You can either play dumb and attempt to pretend that you don't know anything because you don't want to tell Lady Sageleaf anything, or you can tell her the full story of the tea shop. And I kind of wanted to tell her the full story of the tea shop, but I didn't have all the clues. And the check was like an intelligence check, I think, which, I was on minus $1 billion with that one. So I was like, right. I really want to make sure that I find every single clue. So, but then, things happen in the game and you keep going and you keep finding different paths and stuff that I forgot about her. Honestly, I forgot about my queen. I was like, my bad. I really wanted to hang out with Lady Sageleaf, but I didn't as much. But immediately though, I liked Snell. I was like, Snell's gonna be my boy. We became great pals, BFFs, you can say. And it was really funny, I think in my playthrough, because I was always like, a lot of the times I would get the route of like, this person's going to end up liking me because I'm helping them with my charisma or with my strength, like depending. And he liked that. Except then I pissed off Vera pretty quickly. Pretty quickly, I pissed her off, and he loved that. Obviously, he was like, "Fuck yeah!" You know, he was like, "Fuck the freeze riders, it's all good." And I think that kind of got me more in Snell's good graces.
Yeah, so you're talking about this. This is honestly like one of the first big encounters of the game. You come out of the morgue that you wake up in, and there's this big conflict happening between a group of dwarves. And dwarves in this game are basically, the Asculus pretty much exclusively are dwarves with some others. And there's like a political event being staged by the dwarves, and there's a free strider kind of goon basically in the form of Vera, and Vera is trying to shut down the I think she's like a half orc. Vera is, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure, or maybe a full orc. I don't know.
She was being a narc.
She's being a narc. She was like checking their paperwork. She's like, you don't have a permit. She's like doing all this stuff. I regret to inform you, I did side with Vera on that one. Because that was the first time that the game gave you a romance option, and I was like, I gotta go for the romance option. I mean, I gotta try. What am I gonna? I'm not gonna fumble the romance option right now. So yeah, let me listen. Hey dwarves, let me see your papers. Let's see if those are up to date. They're not. Get out of here. That's how that went for me.
That is so funny. No, to be honest, I want to save my answer to if I romance her or not in the second half of the of the podcast, because someone asked a funny question that I want to answer with that. But no, I immediately was like, she's a fucking narc. I was like, hell no, Vera. I don't really like that. I'm gonna figure out a way to kind of give the forge a document or whatever, so that the dwarves can have their little. It wasn't even a protest. They were just holding like a rally, and like there was like 5 people there. I was like, who cares? So that's why I thought it was even more lame. If it was like a riot, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of getting rowdy, but there was like no one there. But to be honest with you, I didn't actually end up solving that particular thing, because I just went about my day and I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to find someone to help me with this, and there was a little devil that could help you with this. But I didn't really like have that conversation in the right direction with the devil, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then I went to do other stuff, and then it was like 2 a.m. and I needed to go to bed, and then I went back the next day, and Vera was like, oh yeah, they just left, and I was like, fuck, I kind of messed it up.
It's easy. It's easy to lose track of those little threads, like you were saying.
It is, because you can just fall into slippery slopes. And like, obviously this is a conflict that the developer put in front of you at the beginning, so you can understand what the free striders stand for, what the Asculus stand for. And then you have pretty quickly that evening another one that I was going to ask you about, which is Asculus again versus the Nationalists. So there's a group of like young boys that are like, we want to be pro the country or whatever. And then this lady, or like young, I think she's called like a youth. This youth, Ascal youth, is she is so strong in her beliefs, and she like believes in Ascalism so hard, and like in her own nature, she just wants to like blast the whole world with all of her thoughts on why like Ascalism, and specifically this like really like intense form of Ascalism, is the correct political view. And so what she does is she prints a newspaper that she mostly writes herself, and then she starts putting it in people's like mailboxes, throwing it in like people's houses, I don't know, in shops and restaurants and bars, and just like is everywhere in the city. She's putting all these papers, and it's not legal technically to like put stuff in people's houses unwanted. You can't just walk into a house and like shove something in, okay guys? And so these band of boys, these young nationalists are like, fuck her, fuck this, we're gonna steal all these papers and we're not gonna give them back, and so you have to deal with that situation. What did you do?
I think I kind of also didn't resolve this situation, because there's an option to like intimidate the nationalists, basically, because the nationalists in this instance are kind of just like this rowdy group of teenagers, like you said. And I just like went way overboard intimidating them and like probably made some threats against their life or something like that.
Oh
And they
God.
got so freaked out that they just like ran away. And then the Asgalist youth were also really freaked out by it. And they were like, just leave us alone. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I'll go now.
Bro, the dexterity heavy cleric is out here like freaking
Dude,
tearing people apart.
I don't know.
That's crazy. I did the intimidation thing as well on the nationalists, but not. I guess I didn't threaten their life or anything. I was just like, hey man, I said something like, I think I started with charisma and I said something like, hey man, you know what you're doing is just as illegal as what they're doing. So like you got to drop it. Like you're not better than them. She's not better than you either, you know? And then he's like, he's like, yeah, but, he's like, yes, but. And I said something like, back off, son, or something like that.
No,
And,
my intimidation was literally like, are you ready to die, boy? And they were just like, that's what happened for me.
Oh my God. That's crazy. That's wild, actually.
Yeah.
No, but they left. But to be honest, the whole like Copper Press, like quest path plus the Young Nationalist quest path, I didn't really follow in either of them to their end.
Same,
I think I did find the ink for the Copper Press, so I like did bring that over, and I think I completed the quest in that sense, but not in the sense of like, the youth wasn't super happy with me at the end of the game. Neither youths were super happy with me at the end of the game, because I told the other youth, the Asgal youth, that I read her paper, and I was like, I side with the dwarves. What you're writing is fucking crazy. You got to tone it down. Like you don't conquer the world. Yeah, I was like, you don't conquer the world in one, crazy propaganda piece. You conquer it little by little. It was kind of like the dwarves like motto, and she was just like, y'all are a bunch of like babies basically, and so she was mad at me.
Right. I think I think the only other like big key moment from this early part of the game is probably the first encounter with the Coin Lord Darrow, and of course the first encounter with Etir, the angel as well that goes along with that. First question, JP, did you attempt to romance the angel right off the bat?
In that night?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I even had the option to romance her that night.
Oh, I went
that
for
evening.
it. Yeah, you did.
You went for it immediately?
Oh, yeah.
I was able to do it the next morning when I woke up and she was there with me because she's my roomie.
Okay,
I didn't. I talked with her and she was just like, I have nothing to say to you. Maybe I failed a check or something, or I didn't have something. And she was like, I have nothing to say to you. You got to talk to Darrow. And I was like, all right. So no, what happened with you? Tell me.
There's just like, I think I forget exactly what it is you say to her, but you basically just like speak very candidly with her. Like you ask her like a very candid question and it just catches her like super off guard. And then you're able to, there's like a flirt option, and then you try to flirt, and like the constitution stat in the game is like, her many eyes are staring into your soul. You feel like you're going to vomit, run, get out of here now. But you like manage not to. And then she just kind of like turns away and ignores you. And it's like, yes, success.
That is so good. That's awesome. So I don't think I got that. The next day I was able to flirt with her nice. in the little apartment that you get. But that sounds so fun.
Yeah, it's really good. All the interaction. Honestly, she's one of my favorite characters.
Oh, she's so fun.
The best. Really, really good. But then after that, of course, you meet the Coin Lord for the first time. And Coin Lord Darrow is, like we said, he's the person that brought you here. He's kind of one of the overseers of the city of Tolstad. He brought you in to help investigate the mystery of the tea shop explosion. But he is a nationalist, right? He's a big time nationalist. Maybe you side with him, maybe you don't, probably not. A lot of people. But yeah, so he brings you in and he kind of tells you, hey, listen, this tea shop explosion, poke around, ask a few questions, but let's not ruffle any feathers, right? Like, let's not really, we got the election coming up in a couple days. Let's not ruffle any feathers here. And you as the cleric internally are like, that's not going to happen. I'm getting into everything. I'm figuring this whole thing out.
Hell yeah.
But one of the really big moments I think happens when you're about to have this really open conversation about this with the Coin Lord. Snell is with you, or probably with you, and the Coin Lord asks Snell to leave, and you have a decision on whether or not you stand up to the Coin Lord on behalf of Snell. So what did you do there, JP?
Stand the fuck up with my boy Snell. Are you serious? I was like, if you got something to say to me, he can hear it, bro. Snell can hear it. I just met him 4 hours ago, but I trust this man with my life.
Dog.
That's my dog, dude. And then the Coin Lord's like, looks at Snell and he's like, can you leave or something? And then Snell's like, hey, I get the vibe. I'm going to go. That's what ends up happening. But then the next day, Snell's like, fuck yeah, he's my friend,
Yeah.
I'm sure you did the same thing, Benny.
Of course. You got to stick up for Snell. Have to.
Yeah. And like the Coin Lord immediately is just like, he's just like, I'm sure you haven't even gone to the tea shop or whatever. And I'm like, yes, I did. Actually, I opened the barrier without you, motherfucker, and he's just like, oh shit, did you? And I was like, yes, I did. Okay. And then he's like, don't ruffle every feathers, like Ben said. And I was like, hell no, I'm going to investigate this thing. And then you don't really see him again. He's like, all right, I got something important to do. Get out of here. Oh, wait. Because I think I discovered the elf pretty quickly. I think I might have told him about that.
Oh, really?
And then he was like, he literally kicked me out. He was like, you need to get the fuck out right now. I need to talk to someone, or something like that. And I was like, okay. And I left. That's how my night ended. So I left. And then of course, when you leave, you get your first assassination attempt. So Ben, how did that go for you?
Poorly. It went poorly. I got my ass beat by this assassin. I took so many points of damage. And when you are early in this game, you have very little health points. You have literally 5 HP.
It's like
at this early start in the game. So this assassin shows up out of nowhere and stabs you, and you take 10 damage. And it's like, bro, I'm not built for this right now. So I was saving death saving throws all over the place, trying to revive, trying to use my cure wounds and keep myself in the fight. And I think eventually they just left. They were like, this isn't worth it. I'm out of here. And I was like, okay, I guess I win.
I think I was able to punch the assassin in the face, and then they scurried away after that. But I did die, but I didn't lose the encounter. I was able to survive with my death saving throws. And then I went to bed. And then I woke up the next day and I told Ether how magnificent she was or whatever. And then I don't know, I think you say 3 specific words and she repeats them back to you, and then your gut's like, okay, it's time, just say it, and I was just like, how did it hurt?
Yeah,
when?
of course.
No, I didn't. I don't think I picked that one. I picked something different. But then, Etzer was like, all right, you're not that bad after all. And I'm like, I know, baby. I know. Okay, Benny. So let's talk about the mid game really quickly and keep talking about our moments that we have with the game, because it's really fun. But basically, as you discover, you find the elf, but everyone that you talk to keeps telling you hey, or not everyone, but a lot of people are like, hey, I actually saw someone running away from the tea shop, and that person, his name is Frank, and he's the son of Frank. And you're like, what? And then you look at Snell and you're like, Snell, do you know who Frank, son of Frank is? And Snell's rubbing his temples, and he's just like, dude, they're fucking with you. That's like a fake name or whatever. But then it keeps happening. Everyone keeps telling you that they keep seeing Frank, son of Frank, and he's wearing yellow. So much so that it's not a coincidence. There's someone that is not wanting to be known who they are, and they are wearing yellow, and they went to the city below. Cool. That's one kind of thread that you can follow. And the other one is that, of course, the tea shop is owned by someone. And the shopkeeper left and is trying to escape town. And you're like, well, that's a big thread. Of course, I need to go find Frank, son of Frank, and I need to find the shopkeeper. And I think that's really what you end up doing in the midsection of the game. You find all these threads, you complete a lot of quests, and then you probably for the first or second time start going to the city below, which is the dungeon that is living underneath the city and has layers and layers, just like any D&D world of a bunch of creatures, bunch of monsters and stuff. And it's really easy to die. I died in the city below probably within the first like hour that I played this game, because of course I went to the dungeons immediately. I was like, maybe I can grind something over here, and I died. But Ben, one of the encounters that you have about this like kind of mid game is you have this divine order encounter with Vera. For the first time, you kind of like get a peek into this political game that is happening in this world, where the divine order is this order of like mystical beings that is actually controlling the free strider political campaign. And they are kind of in their debt. That free striders are kind of in the divine order's debt, and they control them because of that. And you are in the free strider kind of like headquarters, and you're chatting with the divine order guy. His name I cannot pronounce because it's not a real name. It's like XQVIT or something like that. And Vera, and basically the divine order guy is like, hey, cleric, what's up? Listen, I think you're a powerful person, and I think you can be really useful for the divine order. So I have a question to ask you. Are you willing to join us and, you know, kind of mingle with us? And Vera's like, you know, don't do that. Don't side with them, side with us, you know, instead. And you know what I did, Benny? I said, fuck you to both. I said, free striders suck ass and the divine order sucks ass as well. And they both hated me for it. Not really. Actually, the divine order guy was actually impressed by it a little bit. But also nice. He was kind of like, all right, I'm not going to use you, but like, you know, you have big constitution,
you
my
got
friend.
spunk. You got
spunk. But Vera said nothing. Any other attempt in conversing with Vera ended in her telling me to leave. I broke that path in my game from that encounter. I could not talk to her again.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's crazy. And I attempted every day because I was like, oh, maybe tomorrow she'll forget it, you know.
What's up, baby?
What's up, baby? How you doing? Every time she would just say cleric, and I would say hello, and then she would say you should leave, and I was like, okay. But how did that go for you?
That did not go for me. I did not have that encounter. I honestly did not investigate the Free Strider warehouse in the the waterfront district, waterway. I forget what the district is called. I really didn't investigate that until like
Water Lane.
4. Water Lane, that's right. I didn't investigate that until like day 3 or 4. And by the time I went down there, it was just Vera. Like there was no other guy. It was just her there. And I was like not siding with the Free Striders at that point, but I wasn't like openly hostile towards her, I guess you would say.
Sure.
So, you know, you're trying to access the Free Strider warehouse to like see what they got in there, pretty much. That's really it.
Yeah.
And you're like, can I get in there? And she's like, nope. And you're like, what if I ask really nicely? And she's like, no. And she's like, okay, I'll tell you what, if you go hand out these 5 pamphlets for the Free Striders and get 5 business owners to like sign a petition for the Free Strider, you know, politics way of life, I'll let you into the warehouse. How about that? And I was like, for sure, I'll do that. And internally, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, why would I ever go do that right now?
Yeah.
So I just like went around the outside, found the giant griffin that was guarding the entrance to the warehouse, used Speak Animals on it because like I was so late in the playthrough that I had that spell at that point. And of course I got out of the way and I got in the warehouse. So I had like no interaction with the Divine Order in my playthrough at all. Like I barely knew it existed, to be totally honest with you.
I had there's a second interaction that happens with the Divine Order with the same person or being, I guess, in the city below. Mm-hmm. Past the mushroom kind of little garden, past the gardens, towards like where the crocodile is. He's there after you tell him to fuck off, and and he chats with you, and he's like, hey, you got spunk again. You sure you want us to like not help you or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm sure, like, I think there's like a second chance. Like you can like maybe side with them or something, but I was like, yeah, I don't really care. But Vera, because she didn't talk to me, same thing. I couldn't go to the warehouse. Of course, the shopkeeper is hiding in the warehouse. So I had to find another way. I also had to talk to the griffin, but I did this in the second day. So I did not have speak with animals. And so then I kind of, I think the way that I did this is I was really friendly with the mushroom elf, and the mushroom elf helped me with those spell scrolls. And she ended up giving it to me, and then I was able to talk to the griffin. And I was like, "Hey, can you move out of the way, my man?"
And I mean, speaking of the spells, I honestly think it's worth like talking about, because I think it's one of the big ways that this game differentiates itself a lot from something like Disco Elysium. There's this whole system of like really intricate spells in the game. And as you level, you develop like this repertoire of spells, and they're classic D&D spells, like, you know, like I said, cure wounds, speak with animals, speak with dead is a really big one. Some that are like kind of a little more specific in their ability and stuff like that. But the system of the spells, and, you know, you have classic D&D fashion, you have spell slots. You can only use a certain amount of spells per day, per long rest. So you really have to like manage. You have all these spells at hand, but you really have to like kind of be conscientious of like what you're using and when, and not like just spam them all the time. And I think it added like a really, really interactive component to the game that I feel like something like Disco Elysium didn't really have. Because in Disco Elysium, it's really just you and your abilities. Sometimes there's like, you know, maybe you pick up an item that helps you in a certain scenario or something, but that's really it. Whereas in this, you have this whole repertoire, this whole arsenal of spells that you can use in combat, in conversation, randomly throughout the world. And it just adds this like really, really great element to the game. And it makes it really interactive, I think, in a really, really good way. So just while we're talking about spells, I thought that was worth saying.
100%. Also, like, it's so cool that the cleric is actually like a mage. Like, you're a wizard.
Yeah.
You're a wizard, Harry. You know, you can actually do all these spells, and people are excited when they see them, because magic is kind of like dwindling in this world. And so you being able to do that is really important, not just for like your playthrough, but just like in the lore of the game, and the fact that you're a cleric and you can do this, and people are a little bit afraid of you because you can do that. Also, it's hilarious because a lot of the times you lose your spell book. And so you don't have all of your spells at hand, which is why, you know, that's like the reason why you don't have any spells at the beginning of the game, even though you are a cleric and you've been a cleric for 7 years or something like that. Snell, he comments on that a lot. You know, whenever I was talking to when I was attempting to talk to the griffin, Snell was like, "Don't you have like speak with animals, dude?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Aren't you a fucking cleric?" And I'm like, "I am." And he's like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "I don't know, dude. I don't have it." and that happens a lot. But I need to say, I was a little bit of a dummy. I didn't interact with the spells at all, like in my first day, maybe my first 1.5 days. And that was just ridiculous of me. Like, the spell system is so cool and it's so interesting, and it adds such a layer to this game for you to take agency. Like, they want you to take agency. They want you to be able to do the things that you want to do. And if you know where those spell scrolls are, then in your subsequent playthrough, you can like speed run getting all the spells that you can, so that then the next 4 days you can just spend doing whatever the hell you want, and you can really cause some havoc with it, which is really cool. So I don't know, it adds like, it's not just items, it's something that you can actively use all the time, and it's really cool. There was one that I was always had on, which is a level 2 spell called Enhance Abilities. And Enhance Abilities gives you a +2 modifier for all skill checks, which is so good. I mean, my strength and charisma, I would get like a +13 on both of them when I had Enhance Ability on. So even if I rolled a 2, I would still get a 15. So in most cases, I genuinely needed to roll a nat 1 to not get a strength or charisma check, which just made it really fun. And it made it that I can really kind of just role play into that BFG person that I wanted to be with the cleric. So honestly, the spell system was really cool. Again, I wish I interacted with it a little bit earlier. I think I was just, because everything was so overwhelming in the game, and I was more focused on like my equipment and like min-maxing like my stats and stuff, that I kind of wasn't focusing on the spells as much as I should have. I also wasn't like focused on like finding any spell scrolls. Like you can ask Viskin about it, and Viskin like kind of tells you like, you know, I won't give you any spell scrolls, but you can find them. And hey, there's this quest line that I'm gonna give you of this magician or like this old like wizard person that you can maybe find, and then he'll help you out a lot. And that motherfucker gives you speak with the dead, you know, which is amazing. Like such an important character. And I did that like super, super late. Like I kind of like didn't think to do that for a while. So
yeah, I mean, so talking more about just like mid-game moments, I think one of them, like one that you just have, not really a moment, but I think so much of the mid-game is in the city below, in like the big dungeon below the city. And there's so many small encounters within the dungeon, but I did just want to say overall, I think it was really, really cool what they were able to do with the city below. Like it really felt like playing a D&D dungeon in a video game, which is like, you know, there's Baldur's Gate and stuff like that. But I think it's really rare to like really be able to capture that. It just felt, it felt so much like playing a D&D session. Like you're kind of moving around, there's traps, there's things to interact with, there's combat, there's like little things to find. And I thought that was really, really cool. The highlight for me in the city below definitely was finding the little hidden alcove full of all sorts of magical items. There's a big sign that says, I think, not a mimic, and it's pointing to a treasure chest. So of course you're like, all right, here we go, treasure chest mimic. But then the sign turns out to be a mimic, and you have this whole potential combat encounter with the sign. For me, I was able to talk to the mimic. The mimic can talk to you, and I was able to talk to it. And, you know, it thought it was kind of defending its master's alcove or whatever. And it's kind of attacking you and trying to get you out of there because of that. But you can kind of charismatically talk to it and say like, hey, when's the last time you've seen your master? It's been a while. Maybe he's not coming back. How about I be your new master? And the mimic's like, okay. And so you get the mimic, and you get the little mimic whose name is Meek, who, if you equip it, is like a scarf that goes around your neck and kind of acts, basically just gives you like a passive +1 on every ability check, pretty much. Like he just because he's kind of looking out for you, he kind of alerts you to stuff that's coming. He detects danger, which is really big. And Meek is just the goat. Were you able to convince Meek to join your party?
Oh, 100%. I was like, I want him so bad. I loved Meek. Immediate equip, and I never unequipped him. I was like, I didn't even know if I unequipped him, if he would still like talk with me. And I was like, I need him in my life, you know? So I had, I think my equipment I had these gloves of strength that gave me +3 strength. I had Meek, and then I had the floating torch. The floating torch I thought was essential for going through the underground city, city below, the city below. Because if you have a torch or you have a cantrip that you can like turn on for a light, but I enjoyed my druidism or druidcraft cantrip instead, so I can talk to like those little gnome people, which was really fun. But if you have the torch lit, then you can see traps a little bit easier, and you can kind of interact with them in a different way. I think my highlight from down there is I found the hidden library. And in the hidden library, it's like a spiral library where you go down and down and down, and then you find a bunch of books. But there's one particular book that you really want for a particular quest, and I grabbed it. And then the library got like super fucking pissed at me and was like, if you take something, you have to leave something of equal value in return. And of course, I'm a little cleric and I don't have anything on me. So I was just like, I don't got nothing on me, library. And the library's like, you fucking have to do it. Like, I'm not playing around. Like, you have to do it. And I'm like, all right. And then I look at someone, I go, run! So we start running, and I'm able to escape from the library. But in doing so, I also like kind of destroyed the library, and it all crumbled down, which is not good. Damn, and then bro. I found an old snail, and we'll talk about him later maybe, in the city below, that was trapped for millennia. And untrapped him after millennia, I guess. And I told him about the living library. And he was pissed. Kind of. I mean, not really. He was like, yeah. He was kind of pissed. He was like, are you fucking serious? Like, you destroyed the living library? And I was like, kind of, you know. He's like, brother, like, you have no idea what you just did. And I'm like, oh, man. And he's like, it's fine. Because he's so nice, funny. You know, and so cool. But he was not happy. And then Ben and I both got the same. This is like one of the only things we chatted about. Because I feel like you and I, we usually talk about the games when we play them at the same time, but like you played this game and you finished it before I even like kind of started. So we were not in sync at all this month. And we had a trap encounter where basically a trap door opens underneath you, and the cleric is like planking between the trap door, just holding on his fingers on one side and the toes on the other. And Snell kind of jumps on your back and he's like surfing on you so that he doesn't fall on the, you know, towards the pits of hell. And that encounter was hilarious. I took a screenshot of that and I sent it to the Discord because I was like, I cannot believe this just happened.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
But Ben, why don't you bring us home to the late game? Tell us what happens. How do we understand the tea shop explosion, and also why the hell does this game get a little bit bananas past the tea shop explosion?
It gets a lot of bananas past
a lot of bananas, dude.
A lot of bananas. I mean, yeah, there's so much to discuss.
It's a lot.
First of all, you access the undercoast. So as you go deeper and deeper below the city, it gets weirder and weirder, and it gets more and more deadly, basically. So in your exploration of the city below, you find a secret entrance to the undercoast. And, you know, you've explored everything at this point. Like, you haven't found Frank, son of Frank. You've probably found the tea shop owner and maybe some other clues, but really you're kind of at a dead end. So it's like, time to go down. Everything is kind of pointing down. We got to keep going down. If you have
the game even tells you when you load, sorry to cut you off, when you load up the game, the developer of the game, Chris, gives you a little snippet of like what you're supposed to be doing, kind of just to help you, because I think he knows it was overwhelming. Yeah. And basically for the last like 5 times that I loaded the game, the last sentence in that little snippet was always like, and I'm sure there's something else that you need to go do down below, ... And it's like, it's like, I gotta go. That's when you finish the game. You gotta keep going down.
Gotta keep going down. So yeah, when you start to head down there, if you have a good relationship with Etir, the angel, at this point, she will show up and join your party, which is very, very welcome, because the underground is a really, really dangerous place. So it's really great. And honestly, I felt like that was when the game, like I was already enjoying the game in the mid game, but I think having that full D&D style party where you had Etir, you had Snell, you had Meek as well to a certain extent, that was when the game like really, really hit its stride and started to like really feel good. And it was just cruising at that point. It was so good at that point. So I
have such a question.
Okay, go for it.
But I need to save it. But this is the climax of the game, and the climax of the game is really good. Like, it peaks, and it peaks hard, you know?
Yeah.
But does it overstay its welcome? Is it too long?
I disagree. So I think we differ here a little bit, because I went to the undercoast like on day 3. Like on I think you were doing more side content than I was. So on day 3, I knew there's still stuff underground that I have to get to. I talked to Etir, and she said like, hey, when you get to the undercoast, I'm going to join you. And I was like, I want to do that. So I went down there and I just like did that whole portion of the game. So I went down to the undercoast. I found Frank, son of Frank, who, as it turns out, is this like free strider travel influencer, pretty much.
Yeah, he's like an influencer. It's
has
so
nothing
funny.
to do with anything. He was just kind of around, but in being around, he also happened to see like a key piece of information, which is that he saw, big clue, which is that he saw an invisible person entering a pillar, the Pillar of Jor. So that's something we haven't talked about. Jor is kind of one of these big mythical figures within the game. He's kind of like the source of all magic in this universe. And within the town of Tolstead is a pillar of Jor, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a massive pillar that kind of connects all the different layers of the game in a really cool way.
And it's like floating, and it's shattered, and it's magical, and no one really knows why it's there.
Exactly. So you find Frank, son of Frank, and he tells you, I didn't see anything, bro. I'm just trying to explore down here. But I did see shortly after the explosion, I saw an invisible smoking man enter the pillar of Jor. So immediately at that point, your quest becomes find a way to enter the pillar. So that happened to me like on day 3. I like had that information. I completed the troll encounter, which we'll have to talk about in a second here. But I completed that like day 3, and then day 4, I kind of had just had some time to like walk around, tie up some loose ends, like do a few of the other kind of side quests. And then after that, I did like the big climax. So for me, it didn't overstay its welcome because it was kind of like segmented in that way. Like I had the troll segment and Frank, son of Frank, exploring the rest of the Undercoast and finding the snail dude, like you said. I got all of that, but then I had like kind of like a come down a little bit where I got to kind of return to the world a little bit and do some stuff. And then I had like the big climax, which in my opinion is the actual climax of the game. But was it more kind of like bang, bang back to back for you?
It was bang, bang back to back for me because I actually didn't have the detect secret spell for a long time. I was missing that bad boy. And so I couldn't get into the Undercoast until day 4. I was like, what am I missing? I was like, something's wrong in my playthrough. I was missing something. I was missing a conversation or someone that wasn't giving me something, or I was just like dumb and I couldn't figure it out. But I didn't have detect secrets until day 4. So at that point, I was like, I'm worried. I'm worried that I'm not going to finish the quest. I'm worried that it's going to go into day 5 and then the election's going to happen the next day. And like, I'll miss I don't know. I'm like, I'm not doing my duty as the cleric, you know?
Right.
So I finally found detect, secrets on day 4. I can't remember who gives it to you if you ask me, but it doesn't matter.
So you get it from, I got it like, that was like the first spell I got in the whole game.
Oh my God.
Because you find is there's like a dwarf, an adventurer dwarf in the underground. The kind of one of the surface levels of the underground. And he asks you to like go investigate something. And if you do that and come back, he gives you a pickaxe, and the pickaxe has a detect secret in enchantment. And if you like spend some time attuning to the pickaxe, you
3
can,
hours.
Yeah, you can like extract the spell from it. So I did that. That was like day 1 for me. I got the detect secrets. So like
I talked with him in day 1 actually, but I didn't find, what he asked you to look for until like day 3.
Gotcha.
But at that point it was like 10 p.m., maybe 11 p.m. And I was just like, I can't spend 3 hours doing this pickaxe. However, Viskin had asked me to come talk with him after midnight alone. So I told Snell to get out of here. I went to talk to Viskin, and I had done the Doc's quest, the Cobalt's quest. Oh my God. I was saving this for part 2, but bruh, I tried to steal the Cobalt's crossbow. Did you try to do that?
I didn't try to do that. I didn't. I should have. I was a dexterous boy. I should have.
It was, yeah. Because I'm not a dexterous boy and I had like -3 dexterity, I was trying to do that via strength. So I was trying to like steal it from him, be like, this is my crossbow, okay? This is my crossbow. And he's like, human, what are you doing? Fuck off, because he's so hostile against you. And I was being hostile back. And he shoots me and I die.
No.
I swear. So that's one of like my silly deaths that I had in this game. But anyways, all of that happened. I was just like doing other stuff. And then the next day I was like, all right, I guess I need to spend 3 hours with this pickaxe to do this, And I spent 3 hours with the pickaxe, and then I was able to go to the Undercoast, and I got into the troll encounter. And actually I befriended Burr. I don't know if you befriended Burr, but he was the mushroom. And then he also joins into the fight because, I became BFFs with him. So it was like you have a party of 4 plus Meek, which is awesome. And then you fight the troll. I immediately was like, I'm not about to chat with you. Like, you're a troll. I'm a cleric. this is a matter of like hero versus monster, like, which is kind of rude, to be honest. And then obviously the game lets me know that was fucking rude. But I was like, I don't care, I'm about to fight you. So I fought him, and I destroyed him. I fought him, and then I pushed him over the ledge, and he just tumbled down the bridge, I guess, in the Undercoast.
I feel like I took like a hybrid approach. Because like you get into combat. And immediately I was like, okay, we're fighting this guy. Like, we have to. He's coming for us. We have to.
Yeah.
But like midway through combat, I think I like Frank, son of Frank. I don't even remember his real name. He has a real name, but Frank, we're just going to call him Frank. Frank like yells out like, hey, this guy really hates Earth. And Earth, of course, to jog your memory if you haven't played the game, is your god. He's the god you serve. So I was like kind of weaving in like I think I pretended to be Earth, which is crazy sacrilegious.
That is
insanely
crazy.
Sacrilegious.
Oh,
I
my
pretended to be
goodness.
Earth, and I like screamed at the giant, mustering all of my will, that I was like the reincarnation of Earth,
Holy
come back
crap.
to terrorize him. And I think he like half believes me. Like I don't think he fully went for it, but it bought me a moment,
Yeah.
It like bought me a moment. So I was like trying to go a semi non-violent route while also going a violent route, and it just ended up being a violent route. And so I also, pushed him off the ledge and got that as well.
I feel like it's probably really difficult to go through this encounter without fighting him. Like this is like the big fight that you want to have, like the kind of like the biggest fight that you will have in this game. It's like in the stroll. Then you talk to Frank, son of Frank again. Doesn't really matter. It's funny because, for me, I was like, oh my God. I'm probably for everyone's like, you're going to talk to him finally. And then he's like, hey, I'm just a guy. Like, I'm like a TikToker. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? And I punched him in the face because he charmed Moongore. And Moongore, she's my lady, bro. The cleric, I guess not my lady personally, but the cleric and Moongore were hitting it off because they were both two strength, lass and lad, I guess, and they loved that. I defeated the skeletons in the crypt, and she was like, oh, all right, human, you're not so puny after all. You know what? If you defend my honor and you destroy the person who charmed me, then we can talk. And I was like, fuck yeah. So I defeated the troll. Then I punched this guy in the face. And then I ran back to Moongore and I told her all that. And she was swooning over me. And then we romanced, which is awesome. It's so funny.
Incredible.
But yeah, so then for me, like I just did that back to back. But the thing is, there's another kind of, the thing is, this game is so like deep that it's kind of hard to talk about everything, but there's a whole nother section around the Undercoast that you don't even have to interact with if you don't want to, because you can just go back up, figure out how to get into the Pillar of Jor, and that's it. Then you go into the end game. Yeah. But there's like this not so secret kind of area behind there where you have another assassination attempt. And I died, I was so annoyed because I had literally I could roll a 2 on my strength check and I was going to punch this assassin in the face because I had like plus 1,000,000, and I rolled a nat 1 and she killed me, and that I hated that. I was like, dude, I swear I rolled so many nat 1s in this game that I thought that there's programmed in this game, I am so sure that there's a minimum nat 1s that they want you to hit, a quota if you will, that you need to hit. And Chris made me hit it, especially on day 4. I was rolling so many nat 1s, dude. Bro, if I was a programmer for this game, I would do that. I would be like, oh, these motherfuckers are going to roll 10 nat 1s and they're going to love it, and hit it. So I died to the assassin, and then, which is interesting, the assassin is the daughter of the Coin Lord. Right. I let her go, and I was just like, she's just a bad kid. But
kids
also
will be kids. Kids will be kids,
and they're trying to murder people,
stab you, and sacrifice you to an eldritch deity,
which is fucking crazy,
Yeah.
And then so then you find this eldritch deity, Everglad. What did you do when you found him?
Yeah, so he's kind of the other half of this late game sequence, like you were saying. Once you figure out that you have to get in the Pillar of Jor somehow, you basically have three options. You can have Viskin help you, and at this point in the game, you've probably identified that Viskin is a lich, and in D&D
Is that how you say that?
Yeah,
Lich.
you've probably identified that Viskin is a lich, and in D&D terms, liches are very bad. They're very evil, and they enslave people and kill lots of people. So he kind of
because they need to suck their life, right?
Exactly.
They're like a vampire,
exactly.
kind of, a little
Yeah, kind of like a vampire, right? Like an undead vampire god, pretty much. So you know he's a lich.
Yeah.
You can like confront him with that information, I think, if you want. But pretty much whatever you do, he's just kind of ambivalent towards you. Like he's just like, you're kind of annoying. Like leave me alone, basically. But you know he's a lich, and you know he's very evil. So you can do that. There's also a sphinx. There's a millennia old sphinx within a tavern called the Drunken Sphinx. And the Sphinx just like sits around drinking wine all day, giving you riddles. And you can go to her to
You can try to romance
help.
her too if you'd like.
Yes, you can try to romance her if you like. You can go to her for help, and she sends you on a riddle basically to figure out how to do that. Or you can side and sign a pact with the Everglad. And like JP said, the Everglad is a eldritch abomination that lives in the sewers of Tolstad. He trades in information. He is I don't really know what his like formal title would be in this world. I don't know if he's a god. I don't know if he's just an abomination or whatever he is.
Yeah.
But he seems pretty sketchy. He tried to have you killed.
Extremely sketchy.
The assassin, the Coin Lord's daughter, was basically a hexblade warlock that was sworn into his service. And he's like, yeah, I mean, don't worry about that. Like, I just misjudged you. She didn't even, it's no big deal. She didn't really do her job. Like, do you want to be my vassal now? Do you want to be my new hexblade warlock? And you have to decide if you want to be that or not. So you kind of have those three big options. So yeah, what did you choose, JP? How did you decide to get into the Pillar of Jor?
Obviously, JP was tempted to sign the pact. I was like, fuck yeah, you know, why not? But that's not my cleric. That's not my boy. If I do a subsequent playthrough of this game, I would probably go balls to the walls crazy and bad, like I'll be evil or something. But that's not me, not in this one. And so I talked to Viskin. Viskin, I was gonna go through the Sphinx, to be honest, but I didn't solve her riddle. So, and I didn't really have time to like send Etir and Snell out of here and do the riddle solo. During the day, it wasn't the day anymore for me. It was the evening on day 4. And I'm like, I'm running out of time. I got to do this. So I was like, sorry, dude, I'm not doing that. I talked to her and she was like, you know what? If you don't do my riddle, at least, just go talk to Viskin. And I was like, all right. So I talked to Viskin. I had the scroll of wish on me, which impressed him a lot. I don't think you give it to him, if I remember correctly. I think you keep it. Yeah. But he is like, all right, we're cool. Especially because I did have that encounter. I did tell him, you're a lich, sorry. I keep saying, I kept saying leech in my head the whole time. That's why I was like, you're a leech. You're a leech, okay? And and him and I have this like kind of like unwritten pact now, because I was able to get out of me knowing that he's a lich and him being mad about it and wanting to kill me for it, by telling him that basically him killing, I was like convinced him that him killing me was like not the right choice, basically. And anyways, we you know what it was? I remember now. It's actually pretty cool. I basically blackmailed him. I was like, I know your secret. If you pay me, then I won't tell your secret. But of course, me being accepting a bribe is like the biggest no-no of the Earth Guard. Sure. And him being the person who gave me that, bribery money, now has that power over me that at any moment in his life, and he's eternal, he can end me because he'll tell the Earth Guard that I accepted a bribe. Fair. And I explained that to him. I didn't even have to explain it because he's so smart. He's like, oh, I understand what you're trying to do. You know what? I like that. Anyways, because we had that little friendship kind of frenemy thing going on, he was like, yeah, I'll do that for you. And so he helped me. What did you do?
I did the Sphinx. I did do the Sphinx.
Tell me the riddle.
So the riddle, big spoiler,
big spoiler.
Yeah, don't listen to this part if you don't want to know the answer to the riddle.
Skip a minute, maybe.
You basically just have to use all three cantrips. So there's like a primal cantrip. There's I don't even remember
the hand one. Yeah,
mage hand.
It's a hand one, a light one, and then the druidcraft.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So you have the three types of cantrips, and you basically just have to use them in front of her in a certain order. And the order is kind of told to you by the riddle. But you need to have the three. And I think one of them, there's like a thaumaturgy one that I think we didn't mention. There's three specific ones. Mage hand isn't one of them. So maybe you didn't find all of them.
Yeah, maybe I didn't have all of them.
And I forget where you get thaumaturgy. I think you get it from the duck, actually, who's like one of Viskin's henchmen. If you do some stuff with him, he gives you that cantrip. So you have to have those three specific cantrips and use them in a specific order in front of her, and then it works.
Cool.
And then she tells you she needs a gemstone from somewhere. She needs a gemstone that you have to... she attunes to the frequency of the pillar or something like that.
Which one? Because I found a few gemstones.
There is a few gemstones. Yeah. There's a few ways to get them. One of the ways is there's a giant snail that you can use the information you get from the other snail down below to unfreeze, and the snail will move and give you a gemstone. The lich that you mentioned, the demi lich, I think it's called, who's basically just a floating skull. He's the one that teaches you speak to undead, and he has gemstones in his eyes, and you can just convince him to give you one. Pretty much, you can just charisma convince him to do that. And there might be a couple others here and there, but I think I used the one from the Demi Lich. I just got his gemstone and gave it to her and did that, which is pretty good. Yeah.
That's cool. So she opens the portal for you.
Yeah, she attunes whatever gemstone you give her to the pillar, and then you just walk up to it and enter it, pretty much.
So my question to you is, did you go solo or did you bring your friends?
Oh, brother. Went with friends. Are you kidding? That's my party.
Went with friends.
That's my party.
All right. We are approaching an hour and a half of this. So let me attempt, Ben, if you don't mind, to explain what happens.
Here we go.
After you enter the pillar of Jor. So you enter the pillar of Jor, and basically the pillar of Jor is the moment between it's like the purgatory, or it's like the place between being the living and the dead, but it's not quite the afterlife. It's like the gate towards the afterlife, and this is where souls go in their journey to go into the afterlife. And so you go there, you're alone, and you find the cobbler. And he's this old man who is working on some shoes, and he just doesn't really say anything to you, really. And you're like, this guy's probably God. That's what I thought immediately.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Clocked him immediately.
I was like, this guy's fucking God. That's who he is. He's God. I didn't know he was Earth, and he is Earth. I was just like, he's God, in general. They've talked about there's so many gods, but I was like, this is the God in my head. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to have to talk to this guy later. But then you find Lord Gorm.
Who's that?
Or Gorm?
Gorm. It's Gorm.
Yeah. Gorm. Yeah, Lord Gorm. Lord Gorm is a paladin that has been missing, and you actually know about this because esoterically, the dead elf tells you about this paladin, even though you didn't know that the dead elf was dead, and you thought she was just an elf, and she talks to you and tells you about this paladin on day one, on the first day, the first few conversations that you have, that happens, which is crazy. And basically, this is what happens. Lord Gorm tells you that yes, he was behind the tea shop explosion, and yes, he was kind of feuding with the elf because he has a master plan. And this is what's happening, okay? When Earth died, he had one last kind of like decree. He wanted that after his successor was too old or whatever, he wanted a democracy to happen in in Norvik. And Norvik is like the whole country is Norvik,
right?
And we're in Tolstad, the city. And he wanted basically opposing parties to lead Norvik. One person from the cleric or the Earth Guard and one person from the Asgalis is what he wanted to lead Norvik. But instead, what happens is some bad people cast Feeble Mind on the which is like an incapacitating spell on your brain to the leader of Norvik, which is again the successor of Earth. And the magistrate, which you can think about it as like the Senate, is like the board of all these people that are now in power over Norvik, and they are planning on not doing what Earth wants to do and keeping the magistrate in power and having them be the rulers of Norvik. And so Lord Gorm is like, holy shit, I know that all of this happened and I want to help, but I can't help the successor. His name is like Askena or something. I can't remember what his name is. And so what I intend to do is that I also signed a pact. This is Lord Gorm speaking. I signed a pact with Everglad, and I was like, hey, please revive Earth for me. Because if you revive my papa, then surely he'll know what to do. But for me to do that, I need to kill 27 people. One person, specifically Earth folk, one person per year that Earth has been dead. And he's like, but don't worry. I'm only going to kill 26 because I'm going to be the 27th person to die. And you're like, you're fucking insane. Are you serious? And so I had a whole conversation with him telling him that he's a little man baby because he literally wants his papa to come and fix his problems for him. Lord Gorm, you're a little baby boy that can't fix things and history as it comes. And instead he wants to kill people and commit this like harmful thing to your own kind to revive a being that probably doesn't want to be revived so that they fix the problem. Are you serious? Like, that's not going to work. You can't just like kill a bunch of people and revive someone to fix your issues, dude. You fix your issues. You start a revolution. You do something for this. And so I told him that. I was like, you're a little baby boy. And I convinced him to stand down. And I convinced him that what he was doing was wrong. And so he ends up offing himself in my, he's already dead, I guess, technically. So he just kind of like finally crosses into the afterlife in my playthrough. So did I do a good job?
You did a great job. And I feel bad we can't offer a diverse listening experience to our audience because I did the same thing. I did the exact same thing. I told him the exact same thing. I was like, bro, you're going to kill all these people and bring Earth back into the same exact situation as you're in right now, but he's going to be all by himself. You're just going to be abandoning him here to clean up your mess. That's selfish. You're selfish. Like that. This is a bad plan. You're bad, and you should feel bad. And he was like, you know what? I do feel bad. I'm going to kill myself now. And then, of course, he does that. He does. And what happens? But the cobbler that we spoke to previously comes back and talks to us and is like, it's a real shame, but you did pretty good. You did pretty good there. You did a good job. And you're like, what? And he's like, oh, I'm Earth, by the way. Like I am your god, Earth. And I thought this encounter was really cool. I think it was. You're hearing about, all these gods, all these like faceless gods, but at different points in the game, people try to remind you like, hey, Earth is your god, but like, he was just a man. Like he walked among us. He was like, some people you talk to knew him personally. And you ask them like, what was he like? What was he like? How did you know him and stuff like that? So, but to you that
has a big bond with
exactly
him too.
But that doesn't really register to you because you didn't know him, and to you he's just your god. So it doesn't really register, but then you have that experience of like literally talking to him as a man. And you have this whole
And
conversation. It's a really, really great encounter because you have your own complicated feelings with Earth, but your companions are also here. As I mentioned earlier in the game, Snell and the goblins have a lot of pretty valid feelings towards Earth because he essentially orchestrated a genocide of the goblins that killed like over half of their entire race, basically. And Etir also was kind of in service to Earth, and without him has been kind of abandoned and left purposeless. She feels she has no purpose left in this world because Earth is gone. She has nobody to serve. She's kind of just like a relic of a different time. She doesn't really have anything to do. So everybody in your party like has their own kind of complicated feelings towards this guy, and you really just get time to talk it out and address them. Like you get to address your feelings. Snell gets to have his moment of kind of yelling at this god that like caused so much suffering and strife for his people. And of course, Earth has his reasons for all these things that happen, and kind of explains away his side of it a bit. And, you know, whether or not you think his reasons are valid are kind of up to you. Etir kind of has her own moment as well, and she kind of, you know, feels abandoned, and Earth kind of tells her that, you know, she is her own person and she needs to explore that for herself. She needs to go out and be her own person and not just sit around kind of waiting for something to happen. So it's a really, really good encounter, and I think it really like it doesn't tie a bow on the story because we've already done that through finding Lord Gorm and confronting him in that way. We've kind of wrapped up the mystery of the tea shop explosion. But I think this encounter with Earth like wraps up the character arcs of the game. Like it really gives an end to all of the characters that you've not, or maybe not an end, but resolution in some way to all the characters, all the things that they've been grappling with throughout the game. And it's just really great in that way, I think.
have you seen the Tim Robinson show on Netflix? I think You Should Leave.
I have.
Basically, Earth is one of the Tim Robinson characters that says, "I used to be a piece of shit."
That's so true.
And basically, he just tells you that he used to be a piece of shit for like 20 minutes. And you're like, fuck, dude, my God, used to be a piece of shit. And then he's like, now I regret being a piece of shit. And you're like, shit. You know, he regrets being a piece of shit. It was so funny. No, obviously the conversation is a lot more interesting than that, but that's kind of what I got out of it. I was like, oh my God, he's just Tim Robinson. I used to be a real
piece of shit.
I used to be a real piece of shit, dude. It's so
I feel like
funny.
your goblin doesn't know that people can change. Does he know that people can change? Does your baby know that people can change? That is so valid. That is so valid.
Okay, so after you kind of like end that conversation with Earth, you go back to it's election day. It's election day, and basically the game kind of lets you do like a victory lap. They kind of block off every single exit to like the central plaza where you're in, but instead all of the characters that you know and like that are everywhere in the world that you're walking around in are all in that central plaza, and you can chat with them. Some of them, you know, like Vera, will still not talk to you. Some of them, like Moongore, is like, oh my God, I love you, you know. And then I wanted to ask you, Ben, what did you have any good conversations in that victory lap or anything, you know, of mind?
Brother, for me, that was one track mind, and I gotta go talk to Etir. I gotta lock down the state. I need to lock down the state with the angel. That was that was the one thing I had.
The copulation.
Mind. Oh my God, it's so yeah, it's so funny. Etir, in her very like, you know, matter of fact manner of speaking, you go to like flirt, and like ask her out for the final time. And you finally muster up the courage to do that. And she's like, oh, you want to copulate? And it just like kills you. It like destroys your constitution, your confidence. And it's like, it's a really funny moment. So that was a big thing I had to do. That was really it though. I mean, I feel like, you know, I talked to a lot of the characters. But none of the other ones, like I wasn't super invested in a lot of the other storylines going on. I think you probably had more of that like kind of side questing experience than I did. Were there any big encounters that stood out to you in that kind of epilogue?
I think the Eter one is huge. Of course, I was able to romance or do that, flirt with her, get that date. I got my date with Moongore. I talked to Lady Sagely for a little bit. I think that one was a good one.
Yeah.
But nothing like, I think it just ended the good relationships that I had in a good way.
Yeah.
I went to talk to the mushroom elf and I told her that I wanted to be her apprentice and become a druid. So that's kind of how my story ended. I'm going to be a druid now with her. And she was so pumped. Also, she has this like weird relationship with like a plant. She's like plant sexual or something, a tree, which is hilarious. But yeah,
but
so
she's
that was like
it
a big
on.
one.
She's kind of gaslighting this plant. She's leading it on.
She really is. She really is.
Playing games
but that's kind of like a big thing for me. And then that's really it. I think just that pact that I kind of signed with her. I was like, yeah, I'll be a druid for the rest of my life. And then you vote. So and then the game ends basically. So Benny, what did you vote for?
Dude, so you have, before you vote, before you cast your vote, you have one final conversation with the last remaining person, the only person you haven't talked to so far. And of course, that is Snell, the person who's been with you this whole time, or most of the time. Maybe you probably had to dismiss him a few times for some plot reasons. But you have a really long conversation with Snell. Snell obviously is kind of coming down from this huge encounter he had with Earth, and he has a lot of feelings he wants to talk about regarding that. But honestly, the big payoff of the game for me was in that final conversation with Snell. You kind of talk to him. You've gotten all this backstory about your cleric up until this point in the game, and by all indications, he's kind of a loser. He was kind of directionless. He was kind of directionless early in life. His father died at a very young age. His mother was super busy and just kind of kicked him out of the house. He joined the Earth Guard and was immediately kind of cast out because he had more of a proclivity to some of the casting and the wizardry stuff than the others, and he was kind of singled out and cast out for that reason. I think maybe because they were intimidated of him. And then he started distributing some Asgolist reading rhetoric, basically, and he got
because his mom asked him to.
Right, because his mom asked him to, yeah. And so he was big time censured for that. So when you're playing as the cleric in the game, you're kind of on the outs with the Earthguard. They are really not happy with you at Earthguard HQ. So you've been kind of figuring all this out at this point. And so in this final conversation with Snell, you reveal that every night before bed, when you said your prayers to Earth, you prayed to Earth for one thing, literally one thing. And that one thing was a single friend. Because out of everything in this world, that is what your cleric needs the most, is a single friend, dude. And you get this really, really great moment. If you are friends with Snell, I assume you cannot be friends with Snell. But if you're friends with Snell, you get a really, really nice, sweet moment where you get that. You get your one friend. You have your one friend in Snell. And it's a really big emotional payoff if you chose to go that path. So that was a really, really good moment. I think that kind of tied a bow really nicely on a lot of the stuff regarding your character and the relationship with Snell as well. And then it's time to cast your vote. I was kind of apolitical by accident. At the beginning of the game, I was like, I think I'm going to play as a free strider, just laissez-faire, whatever. Everyone do whatever they want. That's what I was doing. But as you go in the game, you learn the free striders are kind of evil. They're part of the faction that's trying to corrupt the government and trying to enfeeble, the magistrate and make it so that they win the election, and delay the election until they know they can win it. very corrupt, all that going on. So you're figuring that out as you go. And I was like, I don't want to be a free strider anymore. I want to be an Asgalist now. So like I went like half the game as a free strider and then like half as an Asgalist. And then at the end, I voted Asgalist. And the game was like, what? You're a free strider. Why are you voting Asgalist? And I'm like,
Wait,
no,
really?
I'm not, bro. No, I'm not. I am not a free strider.
That's so
I
funny.
promise. What about you?
Yeah, I went Asgalist since the beginning. I think the game told me that I mentioned being an Asgalist north of 30 times or something like that, which gave me a nice big achievement on that one. But honestly, the free striders, again, they were being like coerced kind of by the Divine Order. So it's like, I think the game wants to push you into voting Asgalist in general, but also if you do more of the Asgalist path, like you realize that like, they don't have a really good foothold on their own political party in general. Like they are kind of like without a true leader, someone who like actually like understands policies and like their political reform as good. What?
That sounds familiar.
Sure. Yes. And so it's like they're like kind of going nowhere. And it's like you tell people they're going to vote Asgalist, and a lot of people tell you they're not going to win. And you're like, I still will do that, And even the game tells you, like, at some point, I think, like, you get some polling information, and it's like 15% of people are going to vote Asgalist. And you're like, fuck, like, it's like really, really low. So not that, by you voting Asgalist, you're going to win, but it's just like, every party has their issues, like, in this story. I think they were trying to push for Asgalism in general. And I think the cleric's journey kind of, like, wanted that to happen for himself. But it was interesting. But of course, I voted for the Asgalist, and I hope they won. I don't know if they did, but I hope they won.
We don't know. We don't know because the game ends. You cast your vote, and that is it. The game ends. There's no big, reveal of who wins the election. There's just like, you did it. You voted. You did your democratic duty, and that's it.
You did your democratic duty, and that's it. And then I did like how kind of like the end of the game kind of ends almost like a Hollywood movie from like the 90s. Kind of like in a fantastical sense where it's like, where will you go from here? Will the cleric like be like the hero that he always wanted to be? Or will the cleric like go through like do this and this and this? And I think they cater it to what you did in your playthrough. So they ask these questions of you. And I love that. I was like, for like, it really feels like you're playing the cleric. This game lets you really role play into the cleric. It was hard to role play as Harry because you're not from this Elysium, because you're not a crazy person who like has like overdosed on all these drugs and like that's why you're an amnesiac.
Right.
You're just a dude, and the cleric is just a dude. He just can cast magic. That's it, and he's a loser. And that's, it's kind of like you can kind of maybe not relate to him, but you can empathize with him a lot. And actually, there's a whole like sympathize versus empathize section in the story, which was really funny. But anyways, you can empathize and you can sympathize with him. Nice. And it's really cool whenever they like do this kind of end game questions of like where the cleric will go from here, because it felt like it was me. It felt like I really like made him go through this path. And I'm hoping that my cleric does become a druid and uses his druid craft for good. I think that would be a really good ending to my story.
Incredible. Love it.
Thank you, Benny. Okay, guys, listen, we've been talking for way too long, so we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back after the break to talk about and answer the questions and discussion prompts that all of you sent to us on the Discord. Thank you so much. If you want to be a part of our conversations that we have every single month on the Video Game Blue Club Discord, then all you have to do is join. And Benny, you can join with all the links that we have everywhere. And specifically, we have a link in the bio. So please go over there and click that thing. We will be back right after this. Welcome to part 2 of the show, where we answer the questions that you sent to us on our Discord. And I just said that already, but if you want to join the Discord, all you got to do is press that link in the bio of this video or this podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Benny, since you picked this game, I'm going to ask you the first question. And
Love
the
it.
first question comes from Sunderu and from the Discord. And he asks, what is the most interesting stat? And which was the most fun to listen to? And which did you want to ignore?
I think the most, so it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about what I put a lot of points into and their respective personalities. I thought the funniest one for sure was Constitution, because Constitution is like your gut instinct. So like in all these crazy situations, when you're like fighting a monster or you're trying to ask out a celestial being, your gut is telling you like, we got to get out of here right now. Like I'm about to freak out, dude. So I thought the gut was like really your Constitution, and kind of the perspective it offered you in a lot of these situations was really funny, and I thought it was like the most fun to engage with. The one I wanted to ignore the most was Dexterity, which is funny because that was like my dump stat, or not my dump stat, but that was the stat I put like all of my points into because I wanted to be huge in Dexterity. But like the Free Strider ideal was like so annoying in this game that I was like, bro, I don't want to talk to you, Dexterity. Like, don't talk to me right now. So it was kind of just funny in that way. Like Constitution was one I put like very little points into, but I thought it was like the funniest to engage with. And then my actual stat that I put a ton of points into, I was like, don't talk to me, bro. So, what about you?
I think charisma was the most like interesting stat because I really liked like navigating through how charisma would like approach every situation, because not every time did charisma want to be like simpatico and be like really kind of like nice with everyone. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought the funniest one though was intelligence for me, because I think if you actually spec intelligence is kind of like a maniacal like overlord. Like he wants you to be like the king, and he wants you to be like the greatest magician to ever live, and like smite everyone in your path kind of. But not mine, because I was literally the dumbest dude. Like, well, not the dumbest dude, but my intelligence was really, really low. And so my intelligence character every time was like, I don't fucking know what's going on. That's literally what it would say all the time. Someone would say something and he would be like, oh, I know this. And you're like, okay, what is it? And he's like, actually, I fucking don't know. I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. He's talking not truths right now, which is hilarious. Funny enough, Ben, I thought Constitution was a little bit annoying, which is funny that you enjoyed it so much. And maybe if I had a different mentality of it, I just liked like my strength and my charisma were going bickering back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And every time Constitution chimed in, I was like, shut up. Like, I'm like, like, I don't care what you're trying to say. Like, this conversation is really good right now. But yeah, that's good question. Thank you, Sundero.
Yeah. So Sundero has a follow-up question.
Oh, thank you, Sundero, for the second one too.
Yeah, so Sundera asks, if Esoteric Ebb / Disco Elysium style character stats were applied to a different genre of game, which do you think would be the most interesting? Alternatively, if Benny and Pizza Boy 02, for those uninitiated, those are JP and I's characters in our Dark Souls remastered seamless co-op playthrough that we've been doing on twitch.tv/BuenoLeGames every Wednesday.
Great plug.
We've been doing our Dark Souls seamless co-op playthrough, and our characters have been Benny and Pizza Boy 02. You can guess who's who. And Sundara asks, alternatively, if Benny and Pizza Boy 02 had Esoteric Ebb stats, how would the plot of Dark Souls have been different? So I'll open the floor to you for that one.
That is good. Okay, the first part of the question of what I would like to happen is a JRPG.
Ooh,
this is screaming JRPG. It's specifically, I think, imagine, okay, Benny, listen to me. You grab Persona 5, one of the greatest JRPGs ever made, okay? And instead of the life sim situation where you grind stats to get them to, the best that they can be so that you can talk to all the girls and romance all the girls that you want, put that to the side. We don't care about high school. Don't give us high school no more. We're not in high school. I'm gonna be 30 years old this year. Come on, get out of here. No, what I want is a kind of like SMT and Shin Megami Tensei and like mainline Shin Megami Tensei, Persona and Disco Elysium or Esoteric Ebb hybrid, where I go to my dungeon crawling, on half the game. 50% of the time, I'm doing my dungeon crawling. I'm doing my JRPG. I'm casting all these spells. I'm doing the press turn system, or when I, weaken the enemy, I get one more turn or half a turn. So good, so good. God, it's addicting. I love dungeon crawling in the SMT franchise. But in the live sim, I am doing these conversations. I am working on my Esoteric Ebb stats, but instead of grinding them, and maximizing my time spent with my peoples and doing different things and going to the baseball cages so that I can increase my dexterity. Fuck that shit. I want to have real conversations with real consequences that shape the protagonist in the way that the cleric is shaped. And by doing so, you have different relationships with the characters that you have, and you don't have to min-max them so hard that you want every single relationship that you have in those Persona games to be at the top level. I want you to have real consequences for you to choose different things that develop your psyche so that then some characters fucking hate you, some characters love you, and some characters are neutral. And I think that would be a banger of a game. Banger. Maybe only I would play it. But it would be a banger for me.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good game. That sounds like a great game.
What was the second question?
What about Dark Souls, bro? What are we doing in Dark Souls?
Okay, well, I have a follow-up question for this one that we need to discuss. Is the problem?
Okay.
So, what are our stats in like how will Pizza Boyo and Benny agree to what we're going to do in Dark Souls? That's the thing.
We would never agree to anything because
you're a Dex boy.
First of all, if you've watched our streams, we never agree to anything to begin with. But we would be arguing internally. I would be having arguments with my Dex stat. You would be having arguments with your vitality stat probably because JP refuses the level of vitality.
I've been leveling a little bit,
allegedly. We would be having these internal arguments, and we would just like never even get the opportunity to argue with each other because we just wouldn't even make it past ourselves. So I think we would just be running around in circles, honestly. We would
be. But to answer the question truthfully, I think this is where. Do you think Benny and Pizza Boyo 2 would rekindle the flame or not do that and kick it into oblivion?
Oh man, like canonically?
Yeah, like the plot of Dark Souls. Like at the end, are you going to give humanity a chance again, or nah? It's over.
You got to give him a chance, I think.
You think Benny would do that? Do you think Pizza Boyo would allow him?
No, Benny's kind of like a cringe edgelord, like samurai. Benny is a cringe guy. I just got the Chaos Blade in our last playthrough. My guy's kind of cringy at this point. Like I'm doing some weeb samurai stuff. So probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. I think canonically, Pizza Boyo 2 and Benny would not rekindle the flame and would let everything fall into oblivion. Not gonna lie.
That's unfortunate.
Benny, what game do you want Esoteric Ebb, Darks, and then Disco Elysium to be applied into?
I don't really know. I don't have an answer because it works so well as a CRPG. Like it works so well.
That's not what Sundero asked.
My answer is I don't know. Like it works so well in this medium that I can't even like think past it. Like it, and honestly, I think like it worked so well in Disco Elysium as a CRPG, and then to apply that, to take it from that and apply it to a D&D setting, in my mind is like genius. Like it's perfect for D&D. It creates like a perfect D&D atmosphere. And it was like such a happy marriage between those two mediums. So like, I honestly don't even have an answer. If I had to say something, I would say like, a Pokemon game, honestly, where instead of arguing with your stats, you're like arguing with your Pokemon. Like,
Oh, that is good.
you have your
Yeah.
Torchic that's like super aggressive and wants to fight everything, and your Snorlax that's lazy and doesn't want to do anything, and you have to like converse with them and have these conversations with them throughout. That I feel like something like that could be kind of funny and work well. But yeah, I mean, I think it works really well as a CRPG, and translating it to a D&D setting was chef's kiss.
But you will buy my Persona 5 SMT
Yes. Pre-order,
Esoteric
day
Ebb
one
hybrid,
pre-order, right? Deluxe edition. Yes, for sure.
Not even. I want you to be a Kickstarter Gold. Okay?
Kickstart supporter, tier 3 Twitch subscriber, Patreon supporter. Yeah, all of it. I'm in.
Okay, good. I'm glad. All right. Fencerman 2 has the next question again from the Discord. And he says, one major theme of Esoteric Ebb is masculinity and what forms that could take. How did your Ran apply this? Ran is the name of the cleric. We never said that. And did you relate with it?
Yeah, it's interesting. So you really can. It's a great question because you really can approach masculinity in so many different ways within this game. Like if you go full strength and you like lean in to all the stuff that your strength stat is telling you, you're going to be this like hyper toxic masculinity strength guy that just wants to beat everybody up and impose your will and all this stuff. And honestly, I think the way like the masculinity of the cleric manifested itself for me is kind of how it does in real life. Like my, masculinity to me is less about, imposing your will on somebody and more just about being consistent and like strong emotionally and like being reliable. Like that's really what masculinity is to me, is being reliable for everyone, not just for women, but for men and everyone, your family, everybody in your life, is just being a reliable person that people know they can come to in that way. And I think like that's kind of how it manifested in Esoteric Ebb for me. Shocking that I played a character the way I, am in real life. Who could have seen that coming? But yeah, I mean, in Esoteric Ebb, I definitely shied away from all those like hyper masculine things. It would probably be fun and kind of funny just to do like a total Macho Man playthrough and just like really lean into all that. That could be a fun replay. But yeah, really just being kind of like solid, astute, polite, respectful, but just like solid, I think is how it manifested for me.
I love that. My cleric was a strong boy. He loved his strength. He loved the muscles. He related to a lot of like really strong characters in this game by way of masculinity, by way of talking about what it means to be masculine. But in some ways, it kind of gave me some really good conversations. Like when you talk to the duck and when you talk to Moongor or when you talk to Vera in different senses, you have these conversations about what it means to be so strong and what you want to do with that strength. And it, like Fencerman 2 is saying, those conversations were really interesting. I think in my masculinity, I resonate that a lot with what you said. I think being flexible is the most important thing. Like, I think a lot of, Benny and I are both two men, and we thankfully have such a good friendship, and we're both very open, and we're both very emotionally intelligent, which is really good. But, I think like when you grow up as a boy, I think your parents will tell you that you have to be like very like one way road, like be diligent with your things and don't cry and be strong, because when you're strong, you're there for people. But when you're flexible and then you understand that you have a depth of emotion and you have a depth of being, you can be there for your people in many different ways. And that's the most important thing. Like Ben said, being reliable is important, and being dependent on is a good thing too, because if you are dependable and you're flexible with how that looks with the different people that you need to be dependable for, then you have achieved like, you're just a really good person in general. Like I think if you resonate with masculinity and that is important to you and you use that to being a good person, then that's good. I also think though that standing up for people that are being, bullied or like not taken care for is also important, and it's also a part of masculinity. In the game, it's hilarious. You can punch people and you can be like, "Bro, what you did is wrong, and that's like really fucked up, and I'm gonna give you a little punch for it." But I think just having those honest conversations and telling people that they're wrong when they're wrong, and when you're defending someone or when you're like trying to make someone see the goodness in what they should be seeing, then that is also very masculine of you to do. So
it's good for everyone.
Thank you for the question.
Not just men.
It's good for everyone. That's true. Yeah, it's good for everyone. This is just for the masculinity in the specificity.
Of course, yes. I will follow that up with Fencerman 2's second question, coming from that very introspective topic. What was the silliest way you died?
Okay, so I think the silliest way I died is, Benny, who do you think I am if I didn't fucking try to flirt with Vera as soon as I talked with her? Are you serious? Obviously, I tried to do that and I failed. I failed catastrophically, so much so that I died. I couldn't take the embarrassment of basically fucking up my lines to Vera and her embarrassing me for it, that I died. I took like a 7 HP constitution hit, and my death saving rolls, yeah, didn't save me. I also died in a couple other silly ways. I mentioned that the assassin killed me in the climax of the game, which was very anticlimactic, and I really hated that because I rolled a nat 1, so I thought that was a little embarrassing. And then my first ever death in the game was, I had an option when I woke up in the morgue. I can either go up or I can go down. And I was like, fuck it, let's go down. So I went to the dungeon, and then I immediately walked on a gelatin cube thing that absorbed my body, and I died.
That's my answer as well. That was because you start the game and the game tells you like, hey, you can go down right now. You probably shouldn't. It's really hard underground. Like, you probably want to stay out of there for now. I can't keep you out of there, but you probably should. And so, of course, I went down there. I'm exploring a little, and you come across this section in a hallway where there's things floating. There's things floating in the middle of the hallway, and it's like, that's interesting. Allow me to step forward. And you step forward and just freeze. And then, boop, a gelatinous cube appears on the screen around you, of course, catching you inside it. You have no, this happened to me on day 1, so I had no companion. I had no skills, no spells, nothing to do, so I just died. I was just dead. That was definitely the silliest way I died, for sure.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, Fencerman 2, for your questions. Actually, Benny, I think you have the next question. Go at it.
No, I just asked you the silliest way you died.
I think, Benny, I have the next question, so I'm going to go. So Inferno Disco has the next question, and she asks, if you were a D&D class and race in real life, what would you be and why? And you cannot say human.
Okay, I'm going to go with the next best thing. Actually, sorry, that's problematic. Not in the next best thing.
Holy, bro.
Whenever I play D&D, I feel like I always gravitate toward elves. I always want to be shocking. I played Dexterity in Esoteric Ebb. I play Dexterity right now in our Dark Souls playthrough. Shocking that I would pick elves in D&D. Totally shocking. Nobody could have seen that coming. But I feel like I always gravitate towards elves. So I feel like I would go for a half elf, or maybe a wood elf, like a sneaky rogue type half elf where,
that's so basic.
I just kind of play by myself, just stay a little separate and just kind of observe, watch how things are going, and then maybe step in and snag a little something here and there, things like that. I think I would be half elf / wood elf is what I would say.
And what about your class?
Rogue, yeah.
A rogue, yeah. Okay.
Maybe a trickster rogue, doing some having some little cantrips and spells that you can use at the same time. I'd go trickster rogue.
Do you think you are an elvish trickster in real life?
Not really. I mean, no. Okay. I think just in the way that I'm kind of reclusive in a way. I'm just a little reclusive, maybe standoffish. Like I just kind of keep to myself. So I just feel like I'm naturally a rogue in that way, you know.
This is literally like Ben and I met in 2020. 2020, just let me say. 2020. That was 6 years ago. And I am like very outgoing and just like and just talk to everyone. You know, I feel like that's how people would you know, kind of describe me, just
Correct.
like chatty and befriending everyone. And I was like, I told Katie, I was like, I fucking love that guy, Ben. He's the best. I want to be friends with Ben. And she was like, all right, well then, you know, be friends with him. And I was like, okay, yeah, great idea. And it took us so long to like actually, I mean, we were always friendly, but we were always just like tennis friends, you know? And it just like to take that step further and be like, not tennis friends, but friends. I was like, Benny, come on.
You gotta pass the skill checks, man.
I gotta pass the skill checks. That's true. Okay, I took this very literally. I was like, me, if I, with all of my like, I guess skills and not so skills, you know, and all of my stats IRL, what would I be? So I did a little bit of research, and this is how I'm describing myself. Okay, so let's start with class. So class, I am kind of like, I'm athletic in general, but I gravitate towards more like a cardio-based athleticism, you know, where I'm not going to be super strong. I'm not going to be the fastest person ever, but I will play well and I will play the whole 90 minutes, dude. Well, I'm talking about soccer, but like I'm going to be like, I'm not the best dribbler. I'm not the best passer, but I am a competent dribbler, a competent passer. I'm a competent tennis player. I can play for 4 hours. I'm a competent volleyball player. You put me in there and I'll play for 10 hours, you know, and I'm not tired. I run, of course. I've done like 4 half marathons. I'm trying to practice for my full marathon next year, which is going to be awesome. And so I found that class of more like in tune with that is the monk. So the monk will be my class, and I'll be like kind of like, you know, not super into tools, but more just like my body, you know. And then what's my personality? I love to laugh. I love to make people laugh. I love to chat and be friendly and be with as many friends as I can, and with family as well. So I'm going to be a halfling. Halfling or gnome are the races that are the most like races that, like, in Spanish there's a word that is convivio, but it's basically that like will live with their people and will like be merry and be happy and be positive and optimistic and just like, you know, have big parties all the time.
I like it.
In D&D. So yeah, I'm a halfling monk.
I thought you were about to say bard, and I was going to be like, that's 2 classes, brother. What are we doing?
No, yeah, because I said class. I meant race on the second half.
No. Okay, I have the next question. The next question comes from Joe. Joe always brings us some really, really good questions, and he has brought us another classic here. Joe, so I'm happy to be asking you this one because I want to know your thoughts on it first. Okay. Joe asks, as the cleric, you've lived a life of abject tragedy. Your father died in a vicious troll attack, leaving you and your mother to fend for yourselves. Your mother was never around, forced you into selling newspapers to keep you busy in her absence. Eventually, this job would entangle you with the Asgalists, which would directly lead to you being enrolled in the Earthguard and eventually learning magic. The learning of magic would eventually both get you killed and give your life the purpose you seek, eventually leading to the fulfilling of your heart's true wish for a friend. Very nice. Without the tragedy at the beginning of our tale, there might not be any opportunity for the cleric to really find his true purpose. Do you believe that suffering exists outside of greater purpose? Or do you believe that there is a possibility of a teleological end in life's many maladies?
It's an incredible question from Joe, and Joe always brings the bangers, to be honest, very philosophical ones as well. I think that the question boils down to, do you believe that bad things happen for you for your greater purpose, and without those bad things you wouldn't have your greater purpose? Or do you think that life is just a path and you follow that path and it's just like
right?
Correct. It's funny because I think that there's two ways of thinking of this. It's kind of like one or the other. In my opinion, I'm sure there's obviously, many millions of ways to think about this. But basically for me, it's either, do I believe that the bad things that have happened to me have happened because there is a greater purpose? Or for me, or do I think that the bad things have happened to me because they have happened and that's it? Bad things happen to everyone and it's up to me to kind of find my greater purpose regardless of those bad things. And to me, it's the latter, to be honest. Like my dad also died when, not by a vicious troll, that would have been epic. But but my dad also died when I was young. And I've had, everyone, I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life. And I kind of became my own person, my own Ran, my own cleric in a way, by understanding, okay, what does this mean for me? Like all these things have happened to me. How do I find my path? What is my greater purpose in life? Will it be discovering the crime that happened at a tea shop, or will it be something else? And I think that I kind of like lived my life by saying that I'm going to be the best person that I can be, the best husband that I can be, the best brother, the best friend that I can be, and do all the things that I want to do in the best fashion that I can. That always puts me in trouble because then I end up having too many things to do all the time. And then I end up not being the best person that I can be for all these different things. But thankfully, I have made so many great friends along the way and have done so many fun things. And I think that I'm not exactly trying to find what that like one single greatest purpose of my life is going to be. I think that I have plenty of purposes in general in my life, and I'm trying my best to accomplish all of them. Do I think that the suffering that I received or have received and will receive in my life will be for this greater purpose? I don't think so. I think that I'm finding my own purpose, and I am going to hopefully achieve that purpose if I can. And if I can't, I won't. And I am okay with that. But also you can say that, whatever I do in life was already, masterminded in the past. And, there's nothing that I can do to change that. And maybe it is and maybe it's not, but I don't think it
is. Fair enough. Great answer. I really like that answer. I mean, I really agree with everything you said. Like, I think we're very similar in that regard. I think, there's such a draw to try to find meaning in suffering and trying to, suffering is suffering, right? And I think a lot of times it shows you a lot about yourself, honestly, like how you respond in those times of suffering or in hardship tells you a lot about who you are as a person. And it tells you a lot about, what you want to be. Like, who do you want to be in those hard moments? Basically, who do you want to be for the people around you? Do you want to be someone they can rely on? Do you want to be someone they can come to and they can trust? Or do you want to be the person that freaks out and, goes AWOL and off the reservation and like reacts all kind of crazy? Who do you want to be in those hard moments? I think suffering in all of its forms tells you a lot about that. And, there's such a draw, obviously, kind of like Joe alluded to, like when you look at somebody's whole life and you look at the suffering that we know is in the past of our cleric in this game, trying to correlate it to the outcome of the game is obviously, it's something you want to do, right? Because it all of this stuff kind of formed him as a person, and it drew, it came to this conclusion. All of these things kind of came to a head. But the thing you realize, maybe you don't realize, maybe you disagree with me and that's fine. But the thing I believe is that the universe is just indifferent, man. Like suffering is just there because we just live in an uncertain universe and bad things happen for no reason. That's the hardest thing I think you can come to terms with, is the fact that the universe is just indifferent to all of us. And in Esoteric Ebb, maybe it's not indifferent because they have all these kind of cosmic forces at play. But for us, for you and me, the universe is indifferent. Suffering is a constant of life. It is the one thing you can be certain of, whether you are the richest of the rich or the poor of the poor, you will experience some form of suffering in your life, some more than others, obviously. But again, it's how you react in those moments. It's who you want to be in those moments, not only for yourself, but for the people around you. I think that defines you as a person and defines a lot about yourself. So, yeah, the role of suffering in the universe is an indifferent one because we're just here. We're just these apes that have learned to talk and think and play video games, and now we're just dealing with the ramifications of all of that. And how you choose to deal with that is going to be person to person.
It sure is. Damn, Benny, that is such a good answer. I love when Joe asks these questions because you get so good, Benny. You get so good.
Bro, you get so wordsmith. Good.
No, because I'm crazy. I know how I sound when I talk. I'm just like, I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. But you come in with your deep voice and you're just all like, meh, listen to me.
Someone make the TikTok edit of like all the trees and the universe and space and the music in the background and talking about the meaning of life. We need the edit. Someone make
We really do. We really do. All right, go ahead with the next question.
I just like, bro, you're out of whack.
Oh my God, I keep messing up. I keep messing up. God damn it. Okay, so Joe asked the next question, and it is, what is your go-to Slogdog toppings?
Go-to Slogdog toppings, bro. Put some chili on that bad boy, first of all. Ooh. Put some, this is controversial, put some jalapenos on that bad boy. A lot of people
Pickled
are going to tell you.
Unpickled?
Pickled, gotta be pickled. You need the acidity. People are going to tell you to go relish. You're not going to go relish. You're going to go pickled jalapeno. Okay, that's what I'm telling you.
So fucking good.
A little bit of cheese, not a lot of cheese, but just like a little bit of cheese, and then some mustard. Put some mustard on that thing, and you're golden. That's my go-to Slogdog.
Damn, dude.
Dang, I want a hot dog now.
So I went a little esoteric with mine. So I'm gonna make a confit with the Jello that you find in the city below. So you go, and instead of getting trapped by the Jello, you kind of grab it, you put it in the pan, and you put it really hot. You make a confit by putting a shit ton of oil and then tossing in an onion or something. Yeah. And instead, we're gonna make a confit with the Jello, and we're gonna put maybe some cabbage, some onion, and some sliced carrots. I'm thinking to make like a kimchi confit.
Wow.
Kimchi confit, like the ingredients of a kimchi, but with the Jello. Okay. So that's going to be delicious. You cook that down. It's going to be really, really soft, really caramelized, hopefully. And you put that to the side. Then you go and talk to the elf mushroom lady, which I forgot her name this whole time. I've been calling her the
she's got a crazy name.
She's got a crazy name. And then you go, and then she's wearing like a mushroom hat, like Toad is. But I know you best believe that thing is living. You best believe that mushroom is living. So you ask her, thankfully, I am an apprentice of this lady. So I'm sure she would 100% give me a little piece of that mushroom. I'm sure it'll regenerate itself. Grab a little piece of that mushroom. You slice it up. You do a little pan fry with that thing. And then you top your Slogdog with your kimchi, your sliced mushrooms on top. Then you grab your shards of jor, which kind of give you back you know how people do like gold dusting and shit on their food. I'm doing a little bit of a shards of jor dusting on my little Slogdog.
Okay.
And then finally you finish it with a little kiss from Meek, because he's on your neck. He's on your neck. Kiss. When you eat, I mean, he's gonna have a little bit of a bite here and there, because you're gonna drop it a little bit, and he's there to catch it, which is awesome. But before you eat, he always blesses your food by giving a little kiss, and that is my my Slogdog, esoteric Slogdog.
Amazing, incredible. The completing the triumvirate of Joe questions. We're covering all the bases here. Joe says, if Speak Dead was a real thing you could do, who's getting dug up first?
Oh my God, that is such a question. I mean, I could go super, super heavy.
Yeah, of course.
But I won't. I won't go super heavy. Damn, I haven't. Why don't you answer it first? You know what? You caught me. I didn't write that one down, actually, so I don't know.
Oh, man. I don't know. It is a really hard one. I think possibly I don't know. It's like I feel you place too much value on stuff like this. Have you ever seen those like that Twitter meme where it's like, would you take $1 million or dinner with Jay-Z? And it's like, oh, if
What?
you're crazy if you take $1 million because Jay-Z is gonna drop so much knowledge on you that's worth more than that. And I feel like
Are
people
you joking?
no, that people really say that. I swear to God, that's a real thing.
my
It's like
God,
it's a meme at this point. But I feel that's the way I feel about questions like this. It's like, what am I going to ask? Because Speak with Dead, it's like straightforward questions.
Yeah.
I honestly feel like I would just want to talk to someone that was just like involved in a crazy historic event, like the American Revolution or something like that. Just something historic, something crazy, and just be like, bro, what was that like? Like, what was going on? Like, give me George Washington. I'll take 5 questions with George Washington and be like, did you really cross the Delaware like that? Really? Like, seriously? Did you really? Just,
Dude.
I don't know. I think just like hearing somebody from like a big historic event from their perspective would be really interesting.
That's so good. I'm going to piggyback on that. I'm going to revive Charlemagne.
Oh, yeah.
First emperor of France. On 800, he got crowned by the Pope, brother.
Dang.
Brother didn't even want to be crowned by the Pope, but he did it because he wants to be the first emperor. And I want to talk to him about that. I'll be like, yo, how did you finesse that thing? How did you finesse that thing? I want to know. That's a great question. Benny, what about if you and I were dead?
Ooh. If we were dead, God forbid.
Hey, knock on wood. I die right now. Boom. Dead.
Yeah.
And you cast Speak with Dead with me. What would you ask me? One question. Not 5, one question.
I'd say, who's the better tennis player?
That is a fire question.
You got to tell the truth.
Me. I would say me.
Yeah. And you know what? Hand up. He's right. He's right.
Oh, no. No, Benny. Oh, my God.
What would you ask me?
Mine was dumb. Yours was so much better.
Ask me a dumb one.
Mine was going to be what your longest drive that you ever hit in the golf course was.
Oh, God. See, I don't know. Because like I've hit so few with technology that tells you how long they went. So it's literally just a guess. If I had to guess it would be like 275, maybe.
Damn! Maybe. Benjamin!
If I really get a hold of it, you hit the center of the club, you get that. Yeah, maybe
275 centimeters. That's amazing, Ben.
Thank you.
So good. Damn. I love that.
Really insightful stuff coming from JP and I's Speak with Dead questions.
I have another question.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Do you love me more or less than you love The Witcher 3, I mean?
Oh, more, bro. Come on. You got to give me more credit. Give me
more credit. Dude, hell yeah, baby.
Give me more credit than that.
You love me more than your favorite game?
Sure, man. Of course. Although, actually saying that, The Witcher does have a new expansion coming out next year.
Bro, and depending on how that goes, your answer might change a little bit.
I might be rethinking things. JP, I'm going to ask you the last of our viewer questions, and it comes from Glass Shark. Glass Shark asks, do you think Esoteric Ebb was more or less didactic than Disco Elysium? Based on your choice, which do you feel has stronger writing?
That is interesting. I like the second half of the question because it definitely matters, to be honest. I think that Disco is a lot more didactic than Esoteric Ebb. I think they really want to teach you something. I think it's a little preachy. I think people have said that. But I think the game's so good. It's really good. Disco Elysium is really good. I think Esoteric Ebb, I think they are trying to kind of push you in one direction more than another. But I think if you really dive into every single political party that is in the game, it is somewhat neutral. It gives you a lot of cons everywhere. It gives you a lot of pros everywhere. And it's not just like black and white. I think Disco Elysium can be a little preachy in that sense. But I do think that Disco has a better writing. I mean, I just don't. It's tough though, because like you're comparing like the first game that did it, the first game that like literally I mean, we say this a lot, but genuinely took the world by storm.
Yeah.
And every single person like just puts that game in their top echelon of video games. If you gave it the time of day, you're going to put it up there. And any other game that comes out from that game that will be called a disco-like, it's just going to be hard to top that kind of first game that did this.
I agree with that. And I also think that the sort of, what you're referring to, the preachiness, the didactic nature of it, the political discourse within the game really is what we're talking about, feels more natural in Disco Elysium, and it's way more fleshed out in Disco Elysium. Like it feels like a core component of the game. Like it feels like a big part of the game is this political rhetoric, one way or the other, whatever you lean into. It feels like you can go so in depth in all these different political ideologies within Disco Elysium, and really there's no end to it. Like you can get very, very deep in a lot of this stuff and have some really crazy conversations that I'm not qualified to have. Like I have not read the literature. I can't speak on these things. I don't know. Yeah. In Esoteric Ebb, it feels like it's there just because it's a disco-like, if that makes sense. Like the political parties are part of the game, but in Esoteric Ebb, I feel like the game asking you to like think about the politics involved in it is a little more surface level. Like there's not as many really deep ideas happening. It's really just like, hey, you want to be a libertarian? Do you want to be a socialist? Like, you want to be a nationalist? Okay, cool. Like it's really all there is to it. And there's more to it than that. Like I'm really simplifying it, obviously. But the big difference is like in Disco Elysium, that is a big part of the game. And it's like it was an objective of the directors, I'm sure, is to make this like really in-depth political thriller, pretty much. Whereas in Esoteric Ebb, like the intrigue, the mystery, parts of the political system is like more of the focus in Esoteric Ebb, like the different factions and how they're interplaying. It's less about you and your political beliefs, kind of. It's just kind of who you're siding with. And like you said, there's like Disco Elysium probably wants to push you one way over the other. Esoteric Ebb, when you get really into it, it's kind of just like everybody's bad, which is true, but it's kind of, it's a little less, decisive in that way. So I think Disco Elysium definitely is more didactic in that way. It has a stronger message that it wants to portray to you, and it dedicates more time to doing that, to putting that message across through all of its systems. And just in writing, I love the writing of Esoteric Ebb. I think there were some really, really strong points, the final encounter with Earth and like the final conversation with Snell. Really great writing. I have nothing but positive things to say about the writing. But if you're going to put it against the GOAT, what are you going to do? Like putting like Disco Elysium is like novel level writing. Like that's so good. So got to be the better of the two to me.
You're so right with saying decisive though. Like Disco Elysium was decisive. Like they knew what they wanted to talk about. They knew what they wanted to preach about, and that's what they went for. In Esoteric Ebb, sure, you can make the argument that Earth at the end says, "Hey, I want a Earth Guard and an Asgalus." He didn't say he wants a Free Strider. He didn't say he wants an Arcanist. He didn't say he wants something else. He was like, he wants an Asgalus and an Earth Guard. But also, he was like, I used to be a piece of shit, So it's just like you can't really put that. Like, I don't think the developer of Esoteric Ebb was saying, "Hey, Asgalism is like what I want to preach." No, he was like, all these people are pieces of shit. Not really, but like, hey, all these people have problems and they have pros as well. And it's like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day much. It matters like who you are as a person, who you are as a cleric, and what you're trying to like do like in this world, which is like a genuine sentiment. Like people say that all the time, but it's not decisive like Disco Elysium is. So really, really good point, Benny. I have a question for you, Benny.
Oh, okay.
So if you were Snell, how would you have felt of your cleric and the decisions he made? And follow up is, would you actually be his BFF at the end of the game?
I think I would. I think like the character arc of Snell for me was like at the beginning of the game, my cleric was super weird, was saying all kinds of weird things, like making crazy decisions, and Snell was like very put off, probably, like thought I was just like a crazy weirdo. But as the game went on, like I feel like I made good decisions and I like was a pretty good person throughout my playthrough, and I feel like Snell kind of came around to me through that, and like eventually we became friends, and that was really nice. So yeah, I would have thought my cleric was an absolutely insane person, but by the end of the game, I think he came around. So yeah, I think we would be friends at the end of the day.
I think it's kind of hard to go through 4 days of shenanigans with someone and not be their friend by the end, even if they were crazy. It's like, all right, I have a soft spot for that person because of all the crazy things that we did.
Yeah. I have a quick question for you, JP. If there was one D&D spell that is not in Esoteric Ebb that you could put into it, what would it be?
Oh my God. That is so good. I feel like I would have liked to, there's a spell where you can like make yourself whatever object. You know, like you can, oh man, I don't know what that spell is called.
Transmogrify or something?
Yes, that one, exactly. If that would be really cool, because I would have loved to be a kind of like a mosquito in the wall and listen to conversations that people have by doing that spell. So, you know, I go to maybe like Lady Sage Leaves, you know, like little plaza, I don't know, wherever she sits, her throne that she's at, and I become like a little bit of a branch of a plant right there, of a tree, and I can just listen to her talk to Snell and, you know, whatever she says. Or maybe I can listen to Vera talk to the Divine Order people, or maybe I can listen to, I don't know, just all these conversations that could happen, or Viskin or something would be really fun to like listen in without them knowing that you're there.
I love it. I think, dude, I just want like magic missile. Just give me magic missile. I want more combat. I want to just be able to pew at people in combat, dude. Or I want fireball. Fireball is in the game, but you can't actually use it. I would love to cast a fireball in Esoteric Ebb. That would be great.
Oh my God. Okay, well, the last thing we have to do, Benny, no more questions after this, is how do we feel about this game and what is our rating? I'll go first since you just asked the last question.
Okay.
So I really liked Esoteric Ebb. I think I want to preface this by saying that it's really difficult for us. I mean, for me, I don't want to speak for you, Benny, but I find this difficult. When I play an indie game, I immediately tend to have like a good relationship with these games in general, because I know that it's someone who made it. It's like a passion project, something that means a lot to them. This particular indie game, and a lot of indie games out there that I love and cherish, you know that there's so much love put into it and there's so much effort put into it. And I always want to give them 10 out of 10s. I want to do that because I just love them, you know, and I genuinely enjoyed my experience with them. They gave me their time, in this case, 7 years of development, and I gave them back 20 hours of my time to play this game. But since we started VGBC, we have to be a little bit more objective, and I genuinely give ratings for these games because, you know, we compare them and we talk about them, and it's really fun to have these conversations with you and your friends. I think Esoteric Ebb is such a good package. I think it's a great game. I think if you like this type of game, it's a game for you. If you like this type of game, I think you would give it a 10 out of 10. Unfortunately for me, these games are difficult for me to get through. Like I kind of had, it was like homework for me. If this was the game that I was playing by myself because someone recommended, I would probably not have finished it. Just because I don't think I would have willed myself into finishing this game, because I think the early game was a little tough. I also think that I was lost a lot in those conversations. You're not able to access your journal whenever you're chatting with someone. Then they say something that you know you have heard before, but you don't quite remember what it is, and you can't pause the game and find what that whatever word is or title is or God is, and you're like, well, now I'm lost. And then they're talking about something that you kind of don't remember what it is. And I thought that was kind of like a little bit of a rough thing for me, especially because I know I wasn't paying attention to every single conversation that happened in the game, because it was difficult to do so. Like, oh my God, that's all you do in the game. It's just you have conversation after conversation after conversation. So for me personally, I Didn't enjoy the game fully because it's not the type of game that I usually go for, but it is a beautiful game that has so much life, that has so many good things to offer, that has 100 million different paths and endings that you can have, different conversations and different things. You have a lot of agency to do different things. They've thought about so much, so many different paths and conversation kind of topics that you can choose from for you to really craft your own story, which is really, really something. And I definitely want to commend that 100%. But for me personally, this game is like a B minus, B minus.
Interesting. Okay. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think I like inherently enjoyed the game a little bit more than you. But I really did enjoy it. Like I really did enjoy this game. This is a classic tough scenario where a game comes out that's so similar to a classic of the genre, and it's tough because you can only compare them. Like you can't not compare them when they come out. So like we mentioned Disco Elysium a million times this episode, and you have to because they're so similar. One takes so much inspiration from the other. I think there's things that Disco Elysium did way better than Esoteric Ebb. I think the writing was a lot better. I think the overall narrative was a lot better. I think the world was a bit stronger, not a lot better, but a bit stronger just in like the overall immersiveness of the world. But I think there's things that Esoteric Ebb did that were way better than Disco Elysium. I think Esoteric Ebb was way more interactive through the spell system and through, kind of the combat encounters and things like that. Being able to visualize the, odds of success through the D20s and like lower the DC for different checks and things like that was really, really cool. I think the visuals were better in Esoteric Ebb than Disco Elysium. Martinez has like a very iconic style, but like it's not crazy to say that the Disco Elysium graphics aren't great, right? Esoteric Ebb in comparison is like so bright, so colorful, so vivid in its portrayal, really good. It felt a little incomplete in some areas, honestly, if I'm being totally honest. Like there's some areas of the game where you enter a door and instead of being in a new room, it's just black. And the game just like kind of textually describes what's happening instead of just like having a new encounter. And it explains it away by being like, oh, the lights go out, you can't see anything. And sometimes that's valid, sometimes it's not. So it felt a little incomplete in that way. I think also, the addition of voice acting, while that is like a Herculean effort, would really push the game over the top. But with all that being said, I really enjoyed the game. I love the time that I spent in Tolstad. I loved getting to know everybody and investigating this world and figuring out the mystery of the tea shop. So for me, I think it's an A-. I think it's an A-.
There we go. Stamp it, baby.
Stamp it.
A full letter grade spectrum between Benny and I. I love it. I love whenever we have two different opinions in Video Game Book Club. A lot of the times Benny and I agree with our ratings, but this time we differ. And that's really, really good. And that's why I love having these conversations with you and with all of you listeners. But oh my God, wait. June is approaching. That
June
means that we have to play. That's true. June is here, and that means that we have to play another game for Video Game Book Club because we are fiends for gaming. We want to play one different video game every single month, and I have the luxury and the privilege and the honor to choose the game for June. And I have chosen Mina the Hollower. Ooh. It is the latest game from Yak Club Games, which is the developers and the publishers of Shovel Knight, and they have developed and also published their own game. Their latest game, which is Mina the Hollower, which is a more Game Boy style or SNES style, more Game Boy, I would say, style, kind of Legend of Zelda type, action adventure game where you are Mina. You're like a rodent, not unlike Pipistrello, I guess, that we played in December 2025. And you go around and you have like 4 different like big dungeons that you need to clear. just like in like Legend of Zelda, maybe Four Swords or something. And you go around town, you spank some bodies, and then you beat the game, I guess. I don't really know much about it. I haven't played that much of it. The game came out only 2 days ago, which is amazing. Wow. And it is sitting at the top of the Metacritic scale right now. It is the #1 rated game of 2026. And if you have been here with us, we have played some bangers in 2026. So that's really impressive. I also find Yacht Club games really impressive. They have not sold any of their games to any publisher, or haven't sold any portion, I guess I would say, of their games to any publisher. They publish their own games themselves, which is a huge overtaking, because that means that they have to put a lot of capital in the front for the marketing and the publishing of the game. Whereas big, even if they're indie publishers, there's still huge companies that kind of take care of that for these developers buy and then they cut a big portion of their profits because of that. So yeah, I don't know, it's really interesting. And for them to be at the top of the scale with their latest game, which is totally different than what they were doing before, which is Shovel Knight, is something that I'm super interested in playing, of course, and discussing with Benny in 1 month's time.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm interested to play it. I've basically heard it described as Pipistrello with more Souls-like elements, and apparently it's very difficult. We've heard that we have some people in the Discord saying it's been really, really hard so far. So I'm looking forward to playing with it. I am looking forward to discussing the game throughout the month of June. If you want to get involved in that discussion, definitely join the Video Game Book Club Discord with the link in the bio, of course. Give us a like, people. Give us a subscription. That is if you enjoy the show, of course. If you do not enjoy the show, leave a comment and say, I did not enjoy the show. These guys are lame. And we will like your comment. And that's all. Give us a like, subscribe if you like what we're doing and you like our content. Join the Discord to get involved in the discussion. It is always a great time to chat about everything and chat about the game of the month. And we hope to see you there.
We hope to see you there. And if you are listening and not watching, and you are on Spotify or an Apple Podcast, then you can do the same things. You can review us, you can rate us, and you can share us, I guess, with 100 of your closest friends. It has to be 100 minimum. Yes. I think there is some like kind of small text in there that have to do that. I think legally you're bound to do this.
Correct.
So yeah, hey, but hey, you got this. You only have 35 minutes to do that. So go ahead and please get started. That will do it for us. We will be back in 2 weeks' time with an episode of The Checkpoint, where we will be checking in on our progress of Mina the Halloware. And also we will be discussing Journey, which is the mini video game book club, or the short story of the month. So join us for that in 2 weeks' time. And besides that, I really want you to have a great week, a great start to June. Benny mentioned that summer is here. Then go have fun in the summer. Get out, do some grilling with your family, do some grilling with your friends, go to the local pool, have a splash. And I don't know what else, Benny, eat some minutas is what we call them in El Salvador, but they're snow cones. Eat some snow cones, eat some ice cream,
Classic.
Do all those things, have some fun, enjoy your summer, and we will catch you later. Bye.
Bye.